Hey everyone, my name is Sophie from Sophisticated Organization. If you're new here, I share all sorts of videos around organizing, cleaning, productivity, and motivation, but today's video is going to be a major kitchen organization video. I've gathered over 3 hours of content for you, so hopefully you press play and organize along with me. No matter what space you're organizing, I'm telling you it's going to be in this video. I've left timestamps throughout so you can feel free to skip around, watch part of the video, come back at a later time. If you have an apartment, I have some apartment kitchen organization. I have kitchen organization when I was moving into a new space, reorganizing spaces, pantry, general kitchen, fridge, freezer, the works. So I really hope that you enjoy this video, sit back and relax, or get off your chair and organize along with me. If you like this longer style video, please make sure to let me know in the comments below or give this video a thumbs up. And if you are new here, make sure you subscribe to my channel as well. I have so many organizing videos and lots more content for you to watch. But with that, let's jump right into the kitchen organization. I started off by pulling everything out of the pantry, so this is kind of what I'm left with. And I did leave a couple of things in there because I liked the general setup of what I had, like that middle row, and then the bottom row was honestly just too much work, so I left it there for now. Before I started doing any of this, over the past few weeks, I've been making a pantry plan. So I've thought about all of the different dried goods and things that I keep in my pantry and really made a plan not only for the areas within my pantry where I want to create different zones, but also for the labels for all of the products that I decant. And if you're unfamiliar with that, decanting basically just means pulling everything out of its original packaging and putting it into different containers. So I like to buy in bulk, and that way I can decant the products into a size that's a little bit more reasonable to keep in my pantry. And with my xoxo containers, I created a list of all of the dried goods that I use and exactly which size container I want to keep them in. And I'm right now making new labels for all of those containers. So I use a Cricut to make all of my labels, and you can see I just got up to check really quickly the dimensions of some of the labels to make sure that I'm going to print them the correct size. And I will always link in my description box below the Cricut machine if you're interested in purchasing your own. You'll see that they make beautiful labels. It's a little bit tedious, but the labels turn out wonderful. If you're ever interested in a custom label set, you can always email me at sophisticatedorganization@gmail.com, and I am more than happy to make a set of custom labels for you for your pantry or your bathroom or anywhere in your home. Now that it's all done printing, the next step is called weeding, and this is the tedious part. So you need to peel away the background. So anything that's not the actual words that I want to keep, I have to peel away. And that even means going in the inside of all of your O's and your A's and D's and all of those letters and pulling out those teeny tiny little dots. So I am going to weed away while I watch something on my iPad. So once the weeding process is done, you're going to use transfer tape. So that's what this is right now. And I still had my nails done from my wedding and they put little tips on them. So I am having such a tough time peeling things right now. I kind of can't wait to get them off. But you put the transfer tape on top of everything that you just weeded away when you have only your words remaining. Once the transfer tape is on, then I'm going to cut everything into individual labels so I can put them on in containers. I had most of my spices already done. I did that when I was in my last apartment, but I did have one, like this minced onion, where I just taped on the label from the original container so I didn't forget what it was. And I just printed one more label to have it match the rest of them, and I'm gonna stick that one on right now. And I don't know if you can see, there are 3 of the spice containers that still have silver tops. I bought spice containers that had those tops on them and I ended up not liking them, so I've been slowly replacing them with white tops from spice jars that I've been buying from Target. So I just need to buy 3 more spice jars and then I will have a full, beautiful, complete set. Now onto the OXO containers. That's usually what I use to decant most of my products, and I'm just going to one by one label each of them. It is a slow process, especially because I tried out a new type of transfer tape and it's a strong grip transfer tape. Big mistake, it's so hard to peel off. I like my old transfer tape better, so I will be going back to that. This is also a good time for me to replenish some products. So my flour needed to be topped off and I happen to have some flour in the Backstock, so I filled it up.
So take me on a trip, now trip. Oh, flick the switch, kill the lights.
I always like to clean off the surface before I apply any label. That just makes sure that there's no air bubbles, but it also makes sure that things stay on really well and don't peel off.
I know we're acting stupid, being dumb, maybe just a little bit foolish, but I feel so young. Just go a little crazy and lose it. I don't care if we're dumb, it's the only way we know how to do it. Make me feel so young. I know we're acting stupid.
So all of these containers I've been working on so far are my baking products, and I'm going to use the top shelf of my pantry to kind of be my baking zone. Now, I chose the top shelf because, of course, baking is not something that I'm doing on a daily basis, but I do bake quite often, and I can reach the top shelf of this pantry pretty easily, so I know that it's something that I can grab on my own without having to get a step stool every single time. When you're coming up with your own pantry plan, it is important to think about zones like that. So you want to think about having things at eye level and within arm's reach that you use often, and then things that are higher up that you might not use as often, or things low down that are more bulk items or large items that might not be supported on a shelf. It also helps to have these zones to know when you're cooking exactly where to go. If you have spices, over to the left side and the right side and the top shelf and the bottom shelf, it's going to be really hard when you're cooking and you're trying to find what you're looking for. So think about the types of foods that you have in your pantry. Some people like to separate by lunch items and dinner items. For me, lunch foods and dinner foods all kind of blend into one, so I don't really do that. But I have my baking, you'll see on the top row. Then I have all my dry goods. Below that, I have my spices, and I will have my oils there, and so on.
You're looking at me so cold. Get over yourself, are you for real? Why are you looking at me so cold? One's love is not worth enemies. You try to make yourself feel better by taking me down. Once I fell, but now I'm strong. I'm ready for the rematch. Shoot me down, don't you know I get up? Yeah, baby, I will fight. No, there ain't nothing stopping me. I'm bulletproof, I won't fall. I'm bulletproof, go on and shoot me down. I will always get up again.
Now in that second shelf, I could do these containers 3 levels deep, but I'm trying to think about how practical this will be for me. Now, if I have OXO containers that are 3 levels in, getting to that back one is going to be really difficult. So if I have it only 2 levels deep, I can just slide the one in front of it out of the way, grab the one behind it, and it's really not that big of an inconvenience for me.
Dime, ¿cuántas veces me volviste demente? Ahora sin ti estoy tan solo, no es fácil. Te quiero, baby, hasta que nazca el sol, hasta que nazca el sol. Dime, ¿cuántas veces me volviste demente? Ahora sin ti estoy tan solo, no es fácil. Te quiero, baby, hasta que nazca el sol, hasta que nazca el sol. Quiero, baby. Dime, ¿cuántas veces me volviste demente? Ahora sin ti estoy tan solo, no es fácil. Te quiero, baby, hasta que nazca el sol, hasta que nazca el sol. Te quiero. Dime, baby, ahora sin ti estoy tan solo, no es fácil. Te quiero, baby, hasta que nazca el sol, hasta que nazca el sol. Dame tu amor, dame tu amor, dame tu amor, tu amor, tu amor. Dame tu amor.
I'm a big fan of non-dairy milks, so I do buy them in bulk at Costco. And I tend to always have both coconut milk and almond milk on hand, which I have plenty of both right now. I stocked up a few weeks ago. So I had them just kind of sitting at the bottom, and I decided to take advantage of that dead space on the left-hand side of the pantry, way up high. It does go in a little bit past the doors, and so I didn't want to slide my baking goods there, but I felt like this was the perfect spot to put some of my almond milk and coconut milk, because I only need to go back there every few weeks to replenish and stick another one in the fridge. So onto my oils. I have decanted these as well. That's something I did in my last apartment, and I created new labels that match the spice jars, just so I don't have 3 different styles of fonts in my pantry. But I was kind of exhausted, and I'm just gonna leave it for now. Maybe another day I will have the energy to replace them. For now, I think they still look great. So I put all of my decanted oils together, a couple of extra little oils in the middle, and then when you rotate it, I will have all of my cooking sprays. And look how pretty that looks. Next up, I had some pancake mixes, then I have my travel mugs and my water bottles.
I will keep on trying till you give me a sign.
Now this is the large size Lazy Susan. It easily fits my protein powders, that giant thing of honey from Costco. I'm gonna put my salt and pepper, my baking powder, and some toothpicks.
Think that I'm addicted to this, can't resist to be a little risky and go for it, cause I want you close. I'm so exposed when you're keeping me wondering. You know I'd do anything to be in your arms again. So give me a sign.
Believe it or not, these plastic drawers are from college, and I do kind of want to upgrade these and use some alpha units like the ones that I use under my bathroom sink. But honestly, we're trying to be conscious of how much money we're spending, and putting these pretty little labels on these plastic drawers I think just kind of brings it up a notch, and I really don't mind them. And I think we're gonna hold off on upgrading for a little bit. Again, when we moved in, I just kind of threw things in here, so I wanna pull everything out and make sure that it's nice and neat and tidy in these drawers and the labels actually apply. Since I didn't have labels before, I wanna make sure it's all sorted properly.
Could take things slow. Say you think about it too. When the lights go out and there's no doubt that I should be with. We've been on and off again and again. I don't know which way we're going, no control. You push me, then you pull me back in. We've been on and off again and again. I don't know which way we're going, no control. You push me, then you pull me back in. So give me a sign. Give me a sign. Baby, just give me a sign. Baby, give me a sign. Just give me one more talking to you, and here we go again. Staying up all night to see if you've been texting me. Where do we go from here? I wanna go all in.
So it might look like I have quite a few sponges, and I definitely do. This is more sponges than anybody needs, but I definitely get some products sent to me for free to try out, so I am still keeping those and holding on to them. I know I'll get to use them eventually, so I have an entire drawer of sponges and little sink scrubber brushes.
Just give me one more.
I might go too fast. I don't care about those limits, 'cause I want this to last like nothing ever lasts before. I might go too fast.
Now these produce bins I just got from Target. They're some of the only new purchases that I got for this pantry, and I do really like them. I think they look really cute there, and they match all of the white and look nice and simple.
Gotta seize the moment. Have you even noticed? Are you thinking about me? Are you thinking about me?
Okay guys, here is the final reveal.
Anything I'm living, thinking about you. So thinking, are you thinking about me? 'Cause I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about you. Don't wanna go too fast, 'cause I know that people get scared sometimes. Hope it's not this time.
This cabinet is our coffee and tea cabinet, and I felt like I could use a little bit of rearranging and organization. The coffee stacks that I have here, the right one is where I keep my husband's coffee. The left one is mostly my coffee. So I'm just going to resort those. So he has all of his coffee on the right side and all of my coffee on the left side. I like the coffee that has more flavors in it. I also like to do decaf coffee in the afternoons if I want a second cup of coffee. And sometimes even in the mornings, I will just do decaf and kind of trick my brain. And I try to have less caffeine. So I get a lot of decaf coffee as well. And that's what this huge box of K-Cup pods is. It's all decaf flavored coffees. So I'm going to refill my side. I'm also going to go through my favorite tea organizer. Most of these teas I really love, with the exception of this yogi tea that I pulled out. It's a raspberry leaf women's support tea. And even though I only have one tea bag left, I honestly hate it, so I'm just going to throw it away. I also had these two bins at the way top. One was keeping tea in it, and the other one is kind of miscellaneous party supplies and disposable napkins and plates and that type of stuff. So the one that kept tea and other items like that in there, hot cocoa, had a few spills, so I need to clean it out and rearrange it and add everything back in. That green tea matcha powder, I'm actually going to grab my xoxo container where I keep the green tea in and refill it because I knew it was running kind of low and figured I could maybe get rid of this package if I refill the xoxo container. This matcha I originally bought from Costco. I make matcha tea lattes all the time in the afternoon, so I go through it pretty quickly.
All that ever was is alright.
In that open space, I'm going to dump in the rest of the pods. It's kind of a mess right now, but we'll get through them quite fast. I wanted to check and see if I had any of my favorite Container Store bin clips so I could label those two bins that I keep at the top of that space, and I did.
Well, something's gotta give today. It's a good
Since I had those two bin clips, I was going to make some custom labels that said party supplies, and then another one that said tea and coffee.
time to borrow.
I really want, whenever we move to a larger space, to have a little bit more of a craft space. You'll see I put my Cricut on top of my filing cabinet, which works great for right now, but my dream is to have more of a craft space and have my Cricut kind of permanently set up. I do use it pretty often, so it would be really nice for me to have that in a permanent craft setup. But you'll see how easy it is just for me to pop out a couple of custom labels and how much they really elevate the look of a space. You'll also see as I'm making these labels, my husband's kind of coming in and out and we're chatting. He grabbed his golf club for a second there, and he likes to put a pillow against the wall and practice his putting and chipping. If we owned this and this was our house and not an apartment, I might be a little bit more strict, but I really don't mind, and he likes to come hang out with me and chat and work on his golf game.
Time to borrow today. Well, something's gotta give today. It's a good day today and not tomorrow. There's no time to borrow today. Well, something's gotta
I love the look of the white labels on black. I think it really just pops. These bin clips come in different colors. They come in white, so you could do it the opposite with a white bin clip and black vinyl labels, or even another color vinyl. They also sell the bin clips in gold and I think silver, so lots of options.
spin me around and around, turn me upside down, spin me around and around, let me feel, spin me again and again, till I'm upside down, calling again and again, my name. Hold me, tell me I'm not dreaming, I'm not dreaming. Hold me, tell me I'm not dreaming, I'm not dreaming. Hold me, tell me I'm not dreaming, I'm not dreaming. Tell me I'm the only one. I've been lost and found. We know. I've been on the ground.
Such a small touch, but it makes a world of a difference. As I'm going through the kitchen, I'm going to put the dishes away at the same time. So I had a couple of mugs to stick back in there, and this cabinet is complete.
Spin me around and around, turn me upside down.
This cabinet is my nemesis because it feels like it doesn't really have a theme to it. It's our one true miscellaneous cabinet, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a rearranging. The biggest problem I had was our scale. I kept putting it on the bottom and ended up putting things on top of it and then just wasting the battery of the scale. So propping it up on its side, making sure I didn't put things on top of it made so much more sense.
Dreaming, hold me, tell me I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming, tell me I'm the only one.
Our glass cabinet, I had a couple of mason jars I knew I could declutter and get rid of. I might use them for like a DIY craft so I don't have to throw them away. But I didn't need them in our glass cabinet because I don't like drinking out of a mason jar. We have nice high quality glasses that we got for our wedding, so we don't need to hold on to mason jars, and that's not really the style or look that I go for. With my cutting boards, I am going to declutter one of them that was from my old apartment and it's a little bit older. And I know I don't need this many cutting boards, so it's easy to get rid of the one that's the most beat up.
Till I'm upside down, call it again and again, my name.
This is a super small change, but with these bowls, they were stacked way too high. There were 8 of them stacked on top of each other and they just kind of toppled over, so I'm going to change it to 2 stacks of 4. Simple changes like that can really make a huge difference. So if there's something that you're noticing that isn't working for you, like those bowls that were always tipping over and never looked neat, just make a small change and rearrange it. And now that I've switched it to 2 sets of 4, it looks so much better and it's way easier to maintain.
I've been hiding out while shouting out, you had opened up. Oh, spin me around and around, turn me upside down. Spin me around and around, let me feel. Spin me.
This top drawer is as close as we come to a kitchen junk drawer. I do have a random glove in there, but I like to keep it when I chop things like jalapenos or something and don't want to use my hand and then touch my eye or anything by accident. This next drawer down is a little bit too jam-packed, so I'm going to try and do a little bit of decluttering. I can get rid of this green rubber spatula that I just got. It was given to me for free. It has a logo on it and I don't like it, so I'm going to donate that. And then with the rest of my utensils here, I'm starting with my favorites, putting those in first, and then evaluating my least favorites. I'm gonna get rid of a couple. I also have this whisk thing. I'm setting it aside in the possibly declutter pile as well. I've never used it, but it's a miracle whisk, and I think it would be really a beneficial tool to use. I just never use it.
Again, I wanna have you close. I feel like I am.
The dishes are finally unloaded, so I'm going to load up the dishwasher with all of the dirty dishes that were sitting there in the sink.
And I've been longing for your heat, your touch. Oh, I belong to you.
I'm going to use my sink scrub that I always love using to polish my stainless steel sink and get rid of all of the gross things that might have been on any of the dishes that I just washed, and then wipe down some of the countertop right by the sink.
Come on and let me see.
This cabinet is where I keep a lot of the tools that I use to cook, and I have these little accessories that came with the Instant Pot, and I think I can get rid of the 2 mixing tools. They look like they're used for rice and things like that, and I can get rid of them. I also have this blade that broke to my mandolin, so I put it aside to remind myself to call Williams-Sonoma, which I since have done since filming this video, and they are going to send me a replacement mandolin for free, which is really nice of them because it is a high quality mandolin and it should not have broken. I'm just shifting that decluttering pile around a little bit as I clean off the kitchen island. And then I'm going to light a candle in this clean, new, fresh space and quickly go over to my water bottle section, put that water bottle away, and you'll see I'm asking my husband about his water bottles and if there's anything he wants to declutter, which he politely declined. And then I'm going through my travel mugs. I have 2 in here that are from Erin Condren, and I had a memory of using these when I would bring them to work now over a year ago. I've been working from home for so long, but I would bring them to work and I always felt like they would kind of leak. So I'm going to test them out and see which ones leak and if I can get rid of any of them. And you'll see right away, one of them looks like it's leaking. So I'm going to test it out and see if it's the cap that leaks or if it's the seal of the actual container. So my freezer was pretty stuffed to start with, and that's mostly because I just went to Costco yesterday, and whenever I go to Costco, the biggest thing that we buy there is meat, and I freeze all of it. We have no problem with frozen salmon, frozen chicken, frozen ground turkey, ground beef, all of that. The prices at Costco are pretty good, and we both like eating meat, so I just stock up every single time I go to Costco so I don't have to go there as often. But I will say this is the most meat I will have in the freezer at any given time. This is completely stocked up and potentially slightly overstocked up for us, especially when you look at it all on the countertop like that. That looks like a ton. So I ordered 3 bins from the Container Store, and I will link them in the description box below, but I wanted to try and kind of play around with which things worked best in them and figure out how to best organize the products.
In my mind, I lie. I know it's all my fault that I am stuck here. No one to blame this on, feeling so hopeless. I gotta find a way before it disappears. I cannot stay. I feel the pressure on me, how it's itching under my own skin. It's getting real hard to breathe.
So this is really frustrating because I always try and separate and cut apart all of my chicken breasts and meat products from Costco before I freeze them, just because the margin of error is so small between the 2 packages. And if you freeze it first and then try and cut it later, sometimes the way it freezes, it's really hard to get the scissors in between. So I would definitely recommend cutting, then freezing. If you haven't tried the frozen salmon from Costco, I would definitely recommend it. It's one of our favorites. We both really like salmon, and it's something I would honestly probably even serve at a dinner party. You can't really tell that it's frozen salmon, and it's great.
Lately nothing's coming my way. Keep drowning every bit of my devotion, sinking deeper every day.
A difficult part always of fridge and freezer organization is working as quickly and efficiently as you can, because you definitely don't want to keep those doors open for too long, because you don't want your food being exposed to the regular air temperature, but also, of course, you want to save as much energy and electricity as you can.
Feelings and they're making me smarter.
So you'll see with my smoothies, I did have them in a little bit of a shorter container, and I wanted to play around with whether they fit better in one of the old containers, but this short container was the only bin that I had in my last freezer. So this concept of using bins to organize my freezer is definitely new to me, but this short one actually works really well in a spot in the freezer that has a light behind it where I can't fit the long bins like they fit on every other shelf. And I do like to do some prepackaged smoothies, especially there's this one smoothie that I really like that I will be sharing with you guys in my upcoming smoothie video, but it has butternut squash in it, and that is a pain in the rear to measure when it's already frozen. So I measure it when I cook it and then freeze it right away in those freezer bags. And I do hope to get more stasher bags or reusable silicone Ziploc type bags so I don't have to be so wasteful with Ziploc baggies, but I don't have them yet. I'm hoping to get them at some point. But I will link the stasher bag in the description box below because the one that I have I always use for frozen bananas and love it. You can stick it in the dishwasher. It's great. So I don't have a ton of frozen veggies, but I do want a separate container just for frozen veggies because I do always have something on hand and it will leave me a little bit of room to grow. So I do have a lot of frozen fruit, and I have always loved putting the frozen fruit because they come in such large bags at the bottom of the freezer in that pull-out drawer. So that's what I'm gonna do right now and fill it up with all my fruit. Don't mind me while I sneak a blueberry that I spilled.
With you, I feel like breaking rules on the edge, looking out with no parachute. You know I'm dreaming about us two, playing around without a clue. On the edge, cleaning out. With us, it's all or nothing. Oh, but guess I need more of you. With us, it's all or nothing. But guess I need more of you. You say it during night, but in the morning you just leave. With us, it's all or nothing. Oh, but guess I need more of you. With us, it's all or nothing. But guess I need more of you. You say it during night, but in the morning you just leave. Had to convince my friends this time. Think you're toxic.
So last but definitely not least is the door of the freezer. And here I just have some butter, that pesto that I really like from Costco, and then I have some individual packs of frozen grapes. Honestly, kind of an impulse buy. I probably won't buy them again. So once they're eaten up, this spot will probably be empty. And at the bottom, I have all of my ice packs.
You say it during night, but in the morning you just leave. I need more of.
Labels are always the finishing touch, and I always get questions about where I get my labels from, and I actually make them myself. So if you ever are interested in a custom label set, just make sure to reach out to me at sophisticatedorganization@gmail.com, and we can always talk about a custom label set for you. But I think the labels totally pulled this freezer together. It did look organized with the bins, but the second I put those labels back on and stepped back and looked at everything, I'm in love with it.
Why don't we talk about this? Why don't you stay? Why don't we talk about?
So if you guys have been following me on Instagram or on YouTube for a while, you know that I like using the freezer as much as possible, especially for meal prepping. And you'll see I only have one freezer meal left right now, and it's in that tinfoil casserole dish, and that spot I can easily stack one or maybe even two more dishes on top of it. But I also have room right next to my veggie container for other smaller frozen meals or any little items I might need to stick in there. So this freezer does definitely leave a little bit of space for me to put some more items in there.
You and me stuck on the ocean now, nothing but waves and they're spilling in. I wanna dry up but you just keep on going, don't you? I don't even know how we got here, all my reasoning have disappeared. I wanna bury the hatchet and find the way back to our home, our home, our home. We don't have to drift inside this dome. I will not let us fade.
Let's start off by taking a look at the refrigerator before. I definitely let it get a little bit messy knowing that I was going to reorganize everything. So you'll see that there are quite a few things in here out of place, and it's not necessarily how it looks all the time.
And that we're good the way we are. But I don't know that much about you. What things you like and what.
Now, the first thing that you need to do every time you're organizing your fridge or freezer is pull everything out. So I'm going to start by just taking everything out of the main area, followed by the door. Today, we're just focusing on my refrigerator. Previously, I did a video where I organized my freezer, so I will make sure to link that in a card above if you're interested in checking that out and seeing some freezer motivation, because that actually turned out really well. I've had it like that for over a month now, and it's been working great for us.
Will you take me for granted? Will you knock me down? I know I'm feeling something for you. The way you look, the way you laugh, and how you move.
I try and pull out everything of the refrigerator that I can, so that includes the glass shelves, so I can put them in the sink and give them a really nice deep clean. Some things are more of a burden to get out than they're worth, so I just clean them while they're in the refrigerator. But the things like the glass shelves are so easy for me to just pull right out and stick them into the sink and give them a good scrub.
Before I'm too invested, I should probably ask you all my questions, get to know you better. Like, can you be trusted? Will you take me for granted? Will you knock me down? Before I'm too invested, you should take it easy. Maybe we could test this and work out our feelings. Baby, will I love you? Tell me, do you want me? And will you let me down? Yeah. La 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 la
So my refrigerator is pretty tight and narrow here. I live in an apartment, so it's an apartment size refrigerator, but for an apartment it is relatively large, so these drawers are pretty difficult for me to get out. So I'm just gonna wipe them down while they're in the refrigerator and not worry about it too much. We've only lived here since July, so it's really not that dirty. I would be concerned if I made too big of a mess in the refrigerator already. So a quick wipe down will do of most of the surfaces.
I've seen those faces, I've heard all the lies, but you ain't gazing on someone in denial, 'cause you want dollar bills right now.
Now it's time to take everything out of the door, and then I'm gonna clean the door part out as well. The door is usually where I keep a lot of my condiments and things like that, and there's really no order to the way that I store things there, so I'm excited to try and figure out a new strategy for how I store things in the door.
Your mind, trust that you have what it takes inside, 'cause you can make it too. If not says who, yeah, you can make it too. If not says who, you can make it. You had great patience, but something knocked you out.
So these are all of the organizing products that I have for this new project. I'm gonna start by putting them in the refrigerator without anything in there, just so I can place the products and try and figure out where things go best, and then start to fill them up with items from my refrigerator. That's really a great tip when you start any new organizing project, is to figure out where the things go first before you fill it up. Sometimes you have more containers than you need, sometimes you need more containers, sometimes they don't fit in your space properly and they're not the right type of containers. So it's best to do this step first.
'Cause you can make it too. If not says who, yeah, you can make it too.
At this point, I feel like I have a plan in my mind, so I'm going to start with the easiest things first that I know exactly how I want to organize. And the first thing is my new egg container. You'll see I bought one that's much larger than the one I had before. I always have so many eggs, so this larger container will hold plenty more eggs. And because it does match the smaller one, I wasn't planning on this, but I think I'll keep the smaller one as well. So if I have a bunch of eggs on hand, I can actually have both of them and be able to throw away the cartons right away.
Takes inside, 'cause you can make it too. If not says who, yeah, you can make it too. If not says
Next up, I have these produce keepers. I've shared them with you guys before. I've had them for a while. I actually got them from Costco. I don't believe they sell them at Costco anymore, but I should have them linked in the description box below. I think they're sold at Amazon as well. So I'm going to pull out my lettuce and my Brussels sprouts, put them in these produce containers, and then read the top to see if the vents need to be open or if water should be added to the bottom, because it has a handy little guide on top based on the types of fruits or vegetables you store in there and exactly how to store them for optimal freshness.
you make it shine, but I can see that you don't realize, and that's what made me fall in love. 'Cause you got style, the way your body makes my heart beat sound. It's amazing all the time. You are the only thing I need in life. Oh, I want you. Can't you see? I want you. I believe, 'cause I want you. Here with me.
So the next easiest place for me to organize that I know exactly in my head the vision that I want is where I keep our apples, our lemons and limes, and our avocados. So we always tend to have those three things on hand. So I wanted to have new containers that really fit these three things and fit the drawer in the refrigerator that we have now. You'll see I had them in these square containers before, and they were actually old produce keeper containers. So that mesh basket would fit in the larger clear basket, and you can see that they were actually broken. So I really wanted to get rid of those. They didn't fit in the drawer very nicely. So these three new organizers work perfectly.
Oh, I want you. Can't you see? I want you. I believe, 'cause I want you. Here with me, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna go crazy for love.
Now I have some sparkling water, and I'm going to break out a new organizing product. This is super cool if you especially don't always have canned goods on hand, but sometimes you do and you want to organize them, you can see how this little organizer from Utopia actually breaks apart, so it doesn't take up a bunch of room in your refrigerator. So once you're done with all of the drinks, you can easily take it apart and move it out of there to make way for other stuff. You can also make it as short or as long as you want. So my refrigerator goes back pretty far, so I just extended it all the way and took advantage of that space. Now to fill up the cheese drawer, there's really no method to that madness. I don't have any organizers in there, just making sure everything's nice and neat. I did get one larger, lower profile bin for all of my drinks to sit at the top of my refrigerator. And I like the lower profile because it makes it easier to pull them out of the bin. If it has a higher lip on it, it's pretty hard to pull things up and out. So this lower profile is great for my beverages.
No, not now, 'cause your love made me go blind.
Again, I'm doing everything in order of what's easiest for me, just to kind of get things moving. So I know I like to keep butter at the top, so I'm going to stick the butter right in there. And then it's time to start tackling the doors. So I decided I wanted to still do most of my condiments and stuff like that on the doors, but I decided to play around with the idea of doing them in rainbow order. I've tried before to do things by sauces, spreads, jams, things I use for cooking, and create all these different categories. But honestly, sometimes it's hard for me to figure out if it's a sauce or a spread or a jam or a jelly. So I thought this would be really fun. I know it's visually appealing and pleasing to do things in rainbow order. So I'm gonna give this a try and see how it goes.
Tell me now if you want out. What are you saying? Come on and spit it out. I'm about to lose my mind again.
The green category was pretty easy. Just tossed 3 things in there and it was full.
How could we let love go? How could we move on?
So these next 2 organizers are both from Utopia and they're really cool. I love the Fridge View Lazy Susan. It looks really sleek in the refrigerator. And then this other organizer actually has wheels on it. So it's super easy to pull it out of the refrigerator and see what you have because of those wheels.
Baby, go blind. Why you wanna let me go now? Are you saying that to change your mind? Well, love a pity, let me know now.
And just like that, we're done. So now we can take a look at what the door looks like after. And I love the Roy G. bib. I love the rainbow order. I think it looks super neat and tidy, and it's probably something I'm gonna keep around. So now we'll look at some before and afters of the different spaces and see exactly what I did. This rolling bin is everything. Look how easily it slides out. I can grab exactly what I need.
We ain't got the time.
Let's start at the beginning, and that is my everyday dish cabinet. I actually suggest that you keep your everyday dishes somewhere near the dishwasher. It makes it a lot easier. Usually the dishes are full of plates and bowls and things like that, so it's just perfect that it's right there and we can unload in the cabinet above. So I'll show you exactly what's inside. So you'll see in this cabinet, one of the ways that I also organized it beyond the function of the dishes was the colors. So I chose to put all of my white dishes in one cabinet together. That meant that it looks a lot cleaner because it's all one consistent color, but I can also figure out where certain serving dishes are based on the color. So I know all of my white dishes are in this cabinet with my everyday plates and bowls. So moving on to the next cabinet, it's above the kitchen sink here, and I have some more overflow white dishes, so I'll show you what that looks like. So if you guys are new here, I actually got married a couple of months ago, back in July, so a lot of the items that you'll see in my kitchen are wedding registry items and gifts from friends and family, and the Le Creuset Dutch ovens are definitely some of those wedding gifts that I'm loving. I'm hoping that they're gonna last for a lifetime because they perform so well. But you'll see one of the things I did in this cabinet is that I used a shelf riser. So you always want to make sure you're taking advantage of the vertical space that you have in all of your cabinets, and a shelf riser is a great way to do that. So moving on to the next cabinet, you'll see this is where I put all of my regular everyday glassware. Really similar to my first cabinet over there with all of my white dishes, I decided to put all of my glassware together. So I have all of my everyday dishes, my wine glasses, some nicer glasses, some high balls and low balls, as well as at the way top, I have a couple of glass serving dishes, I have a glass cake stand, and things like that. So we'll move to the next cabinet, which is kind of a miscellaneous cabinet. I think if there's any space that really needs to be organized still, this would maybe be one of the cabinets, but it's really everything that didn't fit into that white or glass category. You'll see I have my milk frother, which is perfect because it's right next to my Keurig where I make coffee. I also have some small dishes, some wood mixing bowls, and then at the top I have my super cubes, which I use in the freezer to freeze items that I want in individual portions. You can actually bake in them because they're silicone as well. I will link them in the description box below. They're awesome, but not too far from the freezer, so I felt like that was a good spot to keep those as well. So this cabinet is our coffee and tea station. Again, not far from our coffee maker. So it's where we keep our mugs, but also where we keep our coffee in this awesome little stand from Utopia. You can see that they each drop down. We have a tea stand from Utopia as well that's double-sided. I love tea, so that works out really well for us. And then we have some Backstock up in the bins that are from Target at the way top. So the last of the upper cabinets is my smoothie cabinet. Yes, we have an entire cabinet dedicated to our Vitamix blender, which we love. It's one of our favorite new kitchen gadgets, but we basically just keep the base at the bottom, some of our blending cups in our large container at the next row, some of the smallest ones, as well as a scale at the row above. And one of the favorite things that I have in my kitchen here is this little cheat sheet. I've shared it in my smoothie video. I'll link that in the cards above if you guys are interested in smoothies. But I keep all of our favorite smoothies laminated on a little card right here, divided by green smoothies and non-green smoothies. So every time we want to make something, I don't need to Google it or look it up. It's right here, ready to go. Way up high, we keep all of our alcohol and some of our larger serving dishes that we don't use and access as often. So I don't mind keeping it up high. But my husband and I are not really big drinkers. So even though we have a ton of alcohol, we usually don't touch it unless we have friends over. And even then, we often don't use it. I'm gonna give you a little sneak peek into my pantry. I'm not gonna go into it too in depth because I did actually do another video where I organized my pantry with you guys. So I will link that in the cards above if you wanna check that out. But I will let you see all of the beauty in its after and final product. So now that we've done all of the upper cabinets, I'm gonna show you the rest of the lower cabinets on this whole back area of my kitchen. So we will start over here. So this cabinet is basically just my food processor and my spiralizer. So you'll see when I move the base of my food processor out of the way, I have my spiralizer back there. But I also have more parts to my food processor, and then there's this nice little half shelf that was built in, and I put all of the extra blades up there as well. So it works out really well. And on the other side of the oven, it looks exactly like this. So I'm gonna show you what I put in there. This cabinet is where I kept all of my cutting boards. So you'll see I have them vertically here, as well as all of my trivets in a little acrylic container. That container you can actually affix to different surfaces, and you'll see in my under sink storage, I did use it on the cabinet door. So I will show you that in a second. But another thing we have behind the cutting boards is a toaster. I know we have a toaster oven on the top of the countertops, but my husband insisted on keeping his toaster even though we have a toaster oven. So that's in the way back there that we can't access very easily, but it really doesn't matter because we just use the toaster oven. So even back behind that, we have something called Yonanas, which is basically a machine to make nice cream, which is ice cream out of bananas. And we have found ourselves using that a little more often than I thought, but it's still not too difficult to access. And the other thing I love about this cabinet is that I put a little command hook, and that holds my oven mitts. So because we don't have a lot of drawers, it was perfect to use a little hook and take advantage of the small cabinet. So the next drawer is going to be my pots and pans. So let's look at that. We are still definitely working out the pot and pan situation in here, but these organizers I got from Amazon, again, I'll link them in the description box below. I'm gonna try and link as many things as possible in the description box if you're interested in purchasing anything, but these organizers have helped so much. With some of these items being new from our wedding and gifts, I really don't want to destroy any of them by stacking them directly on top of one another. So these little separators are perfect, and it really takes advantage of the space, but I feel like I could still do a little bit of decluttering in here. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. So let's move on to the under sink. This one's really fun. Under my kitchen sink is where I keep all of my cleaning products. You'll see on the door that I have my sink cleaner, my glass cleaner, and my kitchen cleaner. And then next to that, I have a large bin with all of my cleaning products and cleaning tools. Now, I keep all of my cleaning products on one side together. It's actually a divided bin. It's from the Container Store. And on the cleaning tool side, one of my favorite little things is that I have a jar of some of my favorite cleaning tools, some of these things to clean bottles and straws, a glass cooktop wand. This is what I use to clean my glass cooktop. It works like magic, so if you've never tried this, give this a try. But I love how it contains everything. And then on the other side of my cabinet, I keep all of my Ziploc baggies up here on top. I have my saran wrap, parchment paper, foil, and then microfiber cloths that I use for cleaning, as well as all of our dish towels. Last but certainly not least, we have the kitchen island. This kitchen island I'm really enjoying. It's super huge and oversized. It does only have 4 drawers, and if you guys saw the rest of the kitchen, those are the only drawers I have in this entire kitchen. So I'm thankful I have those. So it has the 4 drawers and the cabinet, and it adds a lot of extra storage. So we will start with the cabinet and move on to the drawers. You'll see this is another cabinet like some of the others that has a half shelf in the back, which is great. It adds some more storage space, but it leaves the front with a bunch of empty room, and I really wanted to take advantage of the vertical space, so I used 3 different shelf risers in this cupboard and added things like my mixing bowls, my Pyrex baking dishes, some liquid measuring cups, as well as my Instant Pot at the way back. So I feel like I took advantage of pretty much all of the space that I could. There's a little bit of space in the inside here between these 2 shelf risers, but there's not a ton of extra stuff to store in the kitchen, so I'm just gonna leave it empty. And then we'll move to the drawers in the island. This drawer is our most used drawer. It's where we keep our cutlery, so we're in here every single day. This back area is what I call my junk drawer because it houses things like a lighter, some box cutters, scissors, a flashlight, that type of stuff. But we have our straws here. We have everything for wine, including these cute little wine markers that you can write people's names on the wine glasses, and it washes off in the dishwasher so you know whose glass is whose. We have chopsticks, our little chip clips, and in the way back I have some candles. The next drawer down is all of our utensils that I use to cook. You'll see I definitely like the color blue, but there's a couple of splatters of green and some other colors as well. So first we have all of our whisks and tongs, more tongs in the back, napkin rings in the back. Then we have all of our plastic cooking utensils, followed by silicone and then wood. The next drawer down here is most of our cooking gadgets and tools. So that's things like our lemon squeezer and our can opener. How can you not love these? Onion goggles. I cry when I cut onions, so I have a pair of onion goggles. We have a pizza cutter, a knife sharpener, all of our peelers, graters, our measuring cups, and then in the back there I have a garlic press, a meat thermometer, and a potato masher. Finally, down at the bottom here, this is where I keep my Tupperware, and I actually posted this drawer on Instagram, so if you guys are not following me on Instagram, I've posted a lot of these spaces before, but for some reason, this photo went a little viral. A lot of people shared it and really enjoyed it. I have a little organizer for all of my tops at the back there, and that is from Utopia. Again, I'll link that in the description box. But I think the thing that really makes a Tupperware drawer organized is having matching sets. So the next time that you guys go out and purchase a set of Tupperware, I really urge you to think about investing in 1 or 2 quality sets of Tupperware. I have 2. I have a plastic set and a glass set. And it makes things so much easier because they nest together, all of the lids go together, and everything is so much easier to organize that way. First things first, I feel really lucky to have a pantry like this in an apartment. My previous apartment also had a pantry. It was about half the size. So having one this size, especially in an apartment, is pretty lucky, I think. It is more common, especially in the US, to have pantries these days in newer build homes or newer apartments. I know outside of the US, it's not necessarily as common to have a full dedicated pantry space to food storage, but even if you're in a location that doesn't necessarily have a pantry, hopefully you get a little bit of inspiration and enjoy seeing what my organized pantry looks like. With this first look of my pantry, you're probably noticing that I am a big fan of decanting products. If you aren't familiar with the word decanting used in this sense, you're probably familiar with it when we're talking about decanting wine, but it's also very popular in the organizing world, talking about pouring the contents of one item from its original packaging into another container. So I like to decant my dried goods as well as some of my oils, which we'll touch on in a minute. But my favorite container for dried goods is the OXO pop containers. I've used these forever. My mom actually used them, so I grew up using them, and they are my favorite to keep food items sealed and keep them lasting longer, as well as making your pantry look super high-end and beautiful. But I think before we dive into anything else, let's just kind of work top to bottom. That makes the most sense to me. On the top shelf is where I decided to put all of my baking items. If you've followed me for a while, you know that I am a baking lover. It's one of my passions beyond organizing. But even though I love baking, I don't access all of my baking items on a daily basis. So it makes the most sense for me to put things that I don't use every single day way up top. And even though I'm 5'4", I can easily grab these items and pull them down whenever I need them, but it's just not as easy to grab as maybe this next shelf down. So baking goes up high. Starting from the left, I have my flour and my sugar in the largest containers that they make with the OXO pop containers. That is because, first of all, I go through those faster, but also because when you buy, let's say, a 5-pound bag of flour, I don't want to have a little tiny container and slowly pour in that flour, because then I'm just going to have a giant backup stash of items, and it kind of defeats that purpose of decanting. When I get a new bag of flour, I want to be able to tip it all the way upside down, pour it in my container, and throw away that packaging. So think about how often you use products and how quickly you're moving through it, as well as the size packages you buy when you're figuring out what products you want to buy for decanting your food into. After the sugar and flour, the next most commonly used, I have my almond flour, my chocolate chips, I have whole wheat flour back there as well, bread flour, and almond flour. After that, I have the smaller sizes of containers for the more miscellaneous baking products. I have walnuts back there, baking powder, powdered sugar, some collagen powder that I use in my coffee and different teas. I have cocoa powder back there and all of those weird things that I don't need giant containers for. The other thing that I should mention with this pantry is it does kind of go deep back on either end. And on this side here, I have all of my vases kind of tucked back there because I don't need them very often. And then on the other side, I have all of my almond milk and coconut milk that I buy in bulk from Costco. It's shelf stable, so tucking it back there is a great use of space for me. I don't need to go there very often. I just pop open my little expandable step stool, grab exactly what I need, and pop it in the fridge. So that's a perfect use of space for me. Moving down to the next shelf, you'll see I have lots more OXO containers with more dried goods in my pantry. And a quick note here, if you're thinking about labeling your pantry items, I would try and keep those labels as broad as possible unless you know that it's a true staple of yours that you are constantly buying and always using, or else you're just gonna find that you have to replace that label or you're pouring food items in there that don't actually match that label. So a great example is you'll see my pasta containers. I label them pasta as opposed to spaghetti or rotini or any other type of pasta that you can think of, because I buy different types of pasta and I don't want to lock myself into exactly what it is. Another thing where I have a broad category, you'll see I have two small containers that say nuts. Sometimes I have little pine nuts in there. Sometimes I have like candied walnuts that I buy for salads in there, and it switches out as opposed to my almonds and cashews that I have labeled almonds and cashews because I always have them on hand. So hopefully that helps you a little bit thinking through what you want to put on your labels if you're going to label your pantry items. Another question I get a lot of times talking about decanting pantry items is how do I keep track of the recipes or instructions, and how do I keep track of expiration dates? Those are both very simple fixes. For expiration dates, you can use a marker and actually write on the bottom of it the exact date that was on the container that you decanted it from. For instructions and recipes, I have a great solve for this. I buy these little adhesive pockets and add them to the outside of my containers. You can slip in nutrition facts or again any sort of recipe or instructions that you might need to cook the item or whatever it might be. It's super simple and a great solve. On this shelf, you'll see that I try to do 2 layers of products. So I have a taller layer of products as well as a little shorter one in the front. So whenever I need something in the back, it's pretty easy for me to just grab something out of the way, reach for the larger item in the back, and then put the smaller one back. So not a big deal at all. And I really wanted to take advantage of all of that space as much as I could. The other thing I have on this shelf is a very large Lazy Susan, which I'll link in the description box below because it's great to find a Lazy Susan that's this large. And because my pantry goes back here, as I told you, I think using this Lazy Susan really takes advantage of that space. So you'll see I have other random items on here like honey, my salt, baking powder, I have coconut oil, some flaky sea salt I use when I bake. I have a couple of protein powders, toothpicks, all of that stuff, but it's perfectly accessible with this Lazy Susan and it takes advantage of that space. Another thing I have hidden behind here is my homemade vanilla extract. So I actually make my own vanilla extract and it takes a while for the beans to soak in that alcohol for it to be completely ready to use in your recipes. So I store it back there in the way back of my pantry. It's nice to have it in a cool, dark place until it's ready for me to use. Moving down to the next shelf, I think this one's actually my favorite, probably because of this spice shelf. And you may think this is an excessive amount of spices. You're entitled to your own opinion. I love it. I think it's beautiful. I have the space to have it displayed this way. I cook extremely often. I feel like I use all of these spices, so I personally enjoy it. So this is how I chose to display all of my spices. And I have them in rainbow order right now. I've played around with doing them in alphabetical order, but I like the look of it in the rainbow order. So that's the way I do it. I'm the one who cooks in the house, so I know exactly where to find things, so it works for me. Again, taking advantage of the sides of the pantry in that dead space. I have all of my extra spices here, so that's some backups that might fill into these. Some that I don't actually have containers for because they're used less often or they're newer maybe, as well as some seasoning packets and other things like this. So great use of that dead space again. On the other side of this shelf, another reason this shelf is my favorite is because of this rotating Lazy Susan with all of my oils and vinegars. So I have my olive oil front and center because that's what I use the most often. And then I split it either direction, going oils and vinegars, if that makes sense. So going to the left here, I have balsamic vinegar, sherry vinegar, red wine vinegar, apple cider vinegar. I have my balsamic reduction. And then on the other side of the olive oil, I have more oils again. Grapeseed oil, sesame oil, and then you'll see I have my extracts, that homemade vanilla extract that I'm moving through, a few other extracts, and then my cooking sprays. After this Lazy Susan, I have a little can organizer that's a 2-tiered shelf riser. I put random things on there. I don't have a ton of canned goods that often, but I keep some for sure on hand, as well as chicken stock and chicken broth. And I have some rice at the bottom there, some leftover drink mixes that I made from another video that I shared with you guys, which I can link in the cards above for Valentine's Day. So I'm almost through that, but I just use whatever is kind of miscellaneous in that area as well as canned items. The next shelf down, I keep pretty simple. The 2 containers that I have over here, I store any fruits or veggies that are meant to store in the pantry and not in the refrigerator. Things like onions or potatoes. I will put bananas in there, things like that. But I really like the containers because you can store them side by side like I have here. Or if we move and I have a different space and I want to stack them on top of each other, you can easily stack them on top of each other as well, which I think is really great. I liked that they were white and they matched the rest of the look of the pantry. So super easy for me to throw things in there and it's pretty low maintenance. The next container that I have no idea where I got it from. I will try and find a link to it if I can. It is something that I've had probably since I was in college, and I try and repurpose any organizing supplies that I have so I don't have to go out and buy new things. Organizing products can be expensive, so this works great in my pantry. It has my garlic keeper. Right now it has peanut butter in it, some lentils in the back, and then we just have a few drink mixes back there. We were obsessed with Mio for a while, and I still actually really like it and like adding it to my water because I'm terrible about drinking water, but we definitely have too many. We probably only need 1 or 2, not however many we have back there. So I need to keep working through them. On the rest of the shelf, we have our water bottles and our travel mugs. I do have some disposable travel mugs in there. I mostly use them when I would go hiking or skiing and bring coffee with me, or even like a smoothie I would drink on the way up to go hike or ski, and didn't want to leave that in the car all day long sitting and getting super gross, and I wanted to be able to throw it away. So it's not something I use on a daily basis. If I'm bringing coffee to work or anything like that, I use our reusable travel mugs. So trying to go through those disposable ones, and hopefully we don't need them again. But I'm also taking advantage of that side space. I have rice packs that you heat in the microwave. They're like 90-second rice packs from Target. I love to cook. I cook so many things from scratch. I make pizza and I make the dough from scratch. I love baking. I love making everything by hand. But for some reason with rice, I cut corners and I still use microwavable rice. My husband really likes the Target rice containers, and they have a few different varieties we really like. We like their Spanish rice. We have it when we have taco night. Their basmati rice is really good. So you know what? Sometimes you just need to cut corners, and rice is where I cut corners. We're moving down, so I took a seat so you can see exactly what's on the floor of the pantry. I have this container back here with all of our Backstock paper towels. Great spot to store it in the kitchen for us so we can easily refill paper towels when they run out. I can see exactly how much I have left. Then I have our KitchenAid mixer. We're in an apartment. I have a very large kitchen for an apartment kitchen, but this feels like the best spot to store it so I'm not taking up other space in the kitchen or other kitchen cabinets. And it's easy for me to pull out. The countertop and the island where I bake is right in front of me, so I can just pull it right out and pop it on the countertop. And then we have these containers here. I definitely had these when I was in college, probably under my bed, storing things like socks and other clothing items, and I've just repurposed them in this pantry. Like I said, I wanted to save money, reuse products when we moved into this apartment, and not have to buy all new organizing systems. So using things that can switch from room to room or space to space really helps save money. So we repurposed them. I put some fun labels on here. We have snacks. I don't have a ton of snacks usually in our pantry. I'm sure you saw above. I've had that question before, where do you keep your snacks? We don't really buy snacks, so I have this labeled as snacks. Sometimes it turns into extra Backstock. I have extras, that is extra Backstock, and then at the way bottom I have baking. It can be Backstock baking items as well as other baking items that I don't necessarily decant into those OXO containers that are at the top of my pantry. In the other two plastic bins, we have our trash bags. That's my husband's chore in the apartment. He takes care of the trash, so I love that because I hate taking out the trash. He deals with refilling the trash bags and all of that stuff. Then I have backup cleaning products, so sponges and other items. And this, I've actually gone through a lot of it since we've moved in, so this is getting smaller. Then I have my giant baking bin. So many fun things in there. I have my rolling pin, my turntable for when I make cakes, all of my cupcake and cake decorating items. And then way back here, I'm going to show you exactly what I store in that little tiny extra space and take advantage of that last few inches of my pantry. I know you can't totally see behind there, but I pulled out my little cupcake carrier that I have. I don't know if I would say it's like my love language or my way of showing that I care about my friends and family, but I love to bring baked goods whenever I do some sort of gathering with friends or family. I always want to volunteer to bring something and really like to bring dessert, so this thing comes in handy for sure. You can actually pop out the cupcakes through here, which is really fun. And then I have backup oils and things that I put into my oil and vinegar containers over here as well. And then a small container with all of my cookie cutters. Yes, I have more baking supplies separate from here. I couldn't even fit my cookie cutters in this giant baking bin, so I had to store them separately.
You keep on telling lies. That is how we stay alive. So you know that I don't mind about what is wrong.
The first thing that I'm doing here is pulling everything out of the pantry, at least as much as possible. And I'm starting with all of my OXO pantry containers. That's what I use to decant all of my dried goods. So I'm gonna get those out first and focus on refilling those, because I think it's going to be a lot easier for me to do one category of things at a time. So with these OXO containers, I know I'm going to do something similar to what I did in my last pantry, keep them all together in one area. So by refilling them, then I can focus on where those go and fill in the other gaps around them. In my last pantry organization video, I was in my previous apartment and shared putting that whole thing together, getting all of these OXO containers labeled. So I'll link that in the cards above if you are interested in that pantry organization video as well. That was a just straight across pantry. It still was a pantry that had a door to it, but very different layout from this one. So if your pantry doesn't look like this one and have a little angle and you want to see just a straight shelf, that's another great example of how you can organize your pantry as well. But what I did here was ordered a bunch of groceries and just picked them up for some of my main staples. I tried to use up all of my food, or as much of it as I could, before we moved, so I didn't have to move with a bunch of food and worry about things spilling and stuff. So a lot of these actually are empty containers. So it was a big grocery bill trying to get our pantry stock and our refrigerator stock and freezer back up, and I'm still honestly working on it, but this was definitely a good start. The only downside I really found to trying to use up all my food and washing these containers really well before I moved was the fact that I just threw in our moving boxes, the tops and bottoms kind of separately, and put them in one box saying pantry or whatever it was. But I didn't think about the fact of how I had both the new version and the old version of the xoxo containers, but the new tops don't fit on the old bottoms and the old tops don't fit on the new bottoms. So it was a little bit tricky. I'm also going to fill up my brown sugar container here and make sure to soak my favorite brown sugar bear. This thing, if you soak it in some water, keeps your brown sugar super fresh. And even if your brown sugar has gone rock solid, if you soak one of these bears in some water, then pop it in your container with your brown sugar, it'll bring it back to life and it's almost like it's brand new. It's pretty crazy. So if you're not using one of these, you definitely should give it a try.
Sky's the limit. I used to be satisfied, stayed over the surface. Now I just can't get enough. You make me feel good like no other. I just want everyone to see what I've discovered. And when I'm with you, I go higher. You lift me up, now I can see so much farther. Beyond the horizon, beyond the horizon. I'm a butterfly who has only begun, taking me a while to get it. Had to live and cry to appreciate life, and what you give is worth it when you're holding.
So while I was working on getting the pantry all cleaned up and put together, Jim and I have kind of been dividing and conquering how we're getting our house set up. So he was heading out to go run some errands. I think he was going to Home Depot. So we gave each other a quick kiss goodbye. He knows that I'm in my happy place, decanting things and organizing and filming and all the things that make me really happy. So he left me to do my thing and was going to go run errands and help us get the rest of our house in order. And you can tell I'm definitely still struggling to figure out which lids go on which tops, but I'm making a list of the rest of the items that I still need to get from the grocery store. So looking at each of these pantry containers as I try and match the lids and figuring out what I still need to purchase so I can add that to my grocery list and continue to refill all of the pantry containers that I have.
Knowing there is more in life that I want. Now I wanna embrace life, you and I side by side. Knowing there is more in life that I want. You make me feel good like no other. I just want everyone to see what I've discovered. And when I'm with you, I go higher. You lift me up, now I can see so much farther. Beyond the horizon.
Now that all of those are pretty much in order, I'm going to continue to pull things out of my pantry to make space to figure out where I want those containers to go and just kind of starting to lay things out in a general direction. I have a sense for where I want things. I'm thinking I want to do some Lazy Susans in the corners of each shelf, or at least pretty much each shelf, because that is a great way to take advantage of a deep corner. The Lazy Susan obviously turns around and rotates so you can access things that might otherwise be lost in a corner.
To let your mind of things. Though it hurts, I can't see it in your eyes, babe, but I know you have a lot to give.
I'm hoping I can get these containers on 2 or maybe 3 shelves. So the higher up one I want to use for baking. So I'm starting to put the things that I consider more so baking items on the higher shelf because I don't use them quite as often. And then the next shelf down I'll try and use for more daily items. And I am planning on doing a 2-tiered system. First of all, the shelves are deep enough that I can do that. But second of all, it does take up a ton of space if you just do one layer. If you have a huge pantry and you don't cook a lot or you don't have a lot of food, go for it. But for me, I have a ton of food. This is still a pretty big pantry, but I really don't mind having the 2 layers, and I used it in my last pantry. Worked out great for me, so I am gonna do 2 layers on that second shelf with everyday items. But you will see, even though I'm doing 2 layers, they vary in height, so I can still easily see what's behind the first layer and just simply slide something out of the way and get to what's in the back.
Be your guiding light. I'm your lighthouse, I'm the sun against your dark clouds. I will always be your guiding light.
And again, you'll see how I first lay out the organizing product or get a sense for the general layout that I want, and then start to load the items into or onto the organizing products and items. So these plastic containers are drawers that I did use in my last pantry on the floor for Backstock items, and I packed into them when we moved all of my spices and a couple other items and food related things that I didn't want to spill. But I'm hoping to get them out of my pantry. I have had them since my freshman year of college, and I'm hoping to just kind of elevate the look of my pantry a little bit. Again, I'm just starting with products that I own, so I'm not going to go out and purchase anything new, but hoping with a larger pantry I can get rid of these and put them in the basement and use them in our storage room for another purpose. So I'm just going to unload all of those spices, try and put the spices in an order that makes sense to me or an order that looks good back onto that spice rack. Now, last time I did it in kind of rainbow order, and I liked the look of it. It worked for me. I'm the one who cooks. I know where everything is, but I know a lot of people do alphabetical order, so let me know what you would do. I'm, at least for now, trying to do rainbow order again, and I think that works really well for me. But are you more of a color and visual person or somebody who would prefer alphabetical?
I'm looking up from my window. Sun's coming up like the day before.
And if you are looking at my pantry and looking at the labels on my xoxo containers, my spice jars, or my oil and vinegar bottles, I actually sell those labels on my website, which I will make sure to link in the description box if you are ever interested. I'm more than happy to make you a custom set of labels for your pantry. If you don't see what you want, feel free to send me a message either through my website or on my email address, which is also linked in the description box below. If you have specific size requirements for the size of spice jars or pantry containers or oil and vinegar bottles that you have, I always want to make sure it's going to be something that works out for you. So just send me a message and I'm happy to help you out.
We can spend all day in bed. I get the wine and the corkscrew. You don't have to do one single thing. You don't know how much I want you. Just looking at you makes my whole world spin. You don't have to wake up yet.
I'm creating a little bit of a backstock bin here. I think I'm going to do those up high and just keep a small little step ladder in the corner of the pantry. I don't love the look of having open baskets on the bottom floor. at least these low profile open baskets. So I'm going to try and put them up and kind of hide the mess and keep more of my appliances and things like that towards the bottom, so it's a little more visually appealing. We'll see how that works out, if I'm able to get things up and down pretty easily or if that ends up being a pain. And that's kind of the mentality that I'm going into this organization. First of all, in my pantry, but throughout the rest of the new house. You can't expect things to be perfect the first time you organize it. You'll see, even as I'm going through and organizing the pantry here, I think I put something in a spot that I want it, and then I end up rearranging it. But you have to be realistic that sometimes things look good as you're organizing it, or you think it's going to be really functional, but then in practice, when you actually go live your life with the way you've set things up, it doesn't quite work exactly the way you thought it was going to. So I'm completely open to the possibility of this not being 100% the way that it's going to stay, but it's going to be my best effort for now, and then I can always redo it or change things around in the future. So that's part of the reason I didn't want to buy a whole bunch of organizing products right off the bat in a new space, because I want to figure out what works, and then I can go and spend money if I so choose.
Like you, to stand by me always, and I dream of a man like you, warm and tender every single day. What if we would join our forces? What a bliss. You make me understand this place.
So down on the floor here, I'm using my old bathroom containers actually that I had Backstock products in for some of my baking items. Now, I love being able to reuse different organizing tools throughout the house. I don't think you should be limited to just having one item in one room, and then if it stops working in that room, it means you can't use the product anymore. I like trying to switch things around, use them in different areas. So it was perfect that I did some decluttering in my bathroom and had more of these little plastic bins and had a ton of baking items so I could use them for my baking items instead.
What if we would join our forces? What a bliss. You make me
In my last kitchen, I had more space for large, bulky appliances in the cabinets in the main kitchen area. I actually don't have that much room in this kitchen for that, but because this pantry is so big, it works out great that I can put my large appliances on the floor of the pantry, and I can even store some of the accessories that go with them. So things like the Vitamix parts for my blender and my Instant Pot parts and accessories that come with it, I can put those in a little bin. Even my toaster, I think I'm gonna try and keep it in here. It's a little bit big for the shelf. It sticks off just a tiny bit, but there's an outlet in here, so I can leave the toaster in the pantry and actually not worry about leaving it on the counter and taking up the countertop space.
this place in a whole different way. You make me wanna live this life to the fullest, to the fullest. You make me understand this place in a whole different way. You make me wanna live this life to the fullest.
Now that I have a general sense of what's going to go into these baskets and bins, I quickly printed off a few labels that I'm going to put on bin clips to go on the bins and make sure I know what goes in there, especially super high up. I found that even though I printed these labels and put them onto the bin clips, when I went to go put the bin clips on the bins in the pantry, I already forgot what I had put way up high. It had been, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes, but completely already forgot. So some people might think that it's a little bit unnecessary to label everything or not aesthetically pleasing to them. I like the look of labels, but also I think it's really functional, not only because I forget what goes where, but also because it's much easier if you have friends that come over and might be helping you cook, or other family members that can be helpful in the kitchen if they want to know where something goes and they want to help you out, or if they say they don't know where to put something away, you can say, yes, you do. It is labeled. So there's a lot of benefits to labeling, but I just thought it was funny that I even forgot what I had just done only moments ago.
So slow, hold you in my arms, won't let go. The world around could pass us by, a thunderstorm, a lightning strike, as we hold each other tight. You're the rose in a garden, and it shows if I'm honest. You're the leaves in mid-August, and I've come out here.
This is a little behind the scenes process of me making the labels, but if you do choose to ever order from my website, you can see how easy it really is. You just need like a credit card or something else that you can push the label onto your flat surface and make sure it adheres. And then you peel off that clear plastic part called the transfer tape. And then all you're left with is the lettering. There's no clear tape left on there. It's just the letters, which I think leaves a really sleek, pretty look.
You're the rose in a garden, and it shows if I'm honest.
So even as I was putting on the bin clips, I realized it was weird that I was going to put one bin on the floor and then one bin a level up. So I moved the Instant Pot up and then decided to put both of the bins next to each other on the floor. That's a really great tip when you're trying to look for a way to make any organized space look more cohesive, putting like items together. You saw I put all of my pantry containers in one spot together. I put all of my spices in one spot together. On the top, I had all of those uniform bins, all looking nice and neat together. So try and keep like things together, and that in itself will make a huge difference, even if you don't have all of the fancy organizing products.
Imagine a world where we all belong, where no one's left out, dressed in our finest, walking the walk.
I also made a couple of labels that I just put directly onto the little clear containers for my baking accessories and used a shelf riser to help organize those better. So I created one category for cupcake liners, another category for decorations, one for frosting, which are all the tools I use for my frosting of cakes and cupcakes. And then the last one is for cookie cutters.
Dress us for our weather. No need to seek shelter. Everyone's free, and the best they can be. Tall grassy songs.
So with that, I will show you the final after of my pantry, how it looks so far. Again, things may change in the future, but pretty proud of what it looks like with just the products I already owned.
Happy days be our guest. Happy days manifest. Let's stand together. Put a smile on our faces. Fill us up with your grace and make us better. Dress us for our weather. Abby's, I wonder who we'd be. At ease in the great mystery. Happy days be our guest. Happy days out of love. Never get enough. We never seem to get older. things are going right. You seem to have the time, but when it's hard, you.
Today I kind of want to just go through cabinet by cabinet, drawer by drawer, and like I said, fine-tuning everything and making sure it's nice and neat and organized the way I want it. The one cabinet that I really hadn't addressed was this cabinet that's on the side of my island, and I want to put water bottles and travel mugs here, as well as I think my super cubes that I absolutely love. If you haven't heard me talk about them before, they're awesome and great for freezing smaller portions of meals, but I think I want to put those at the bottom and then water bottles at the top. So I found this water bottle organizer from Amazon, which I will link in the description box below. And it actually came as a set of 4. They're stackable, so I figured I could use as many as I wanted for water bottles upstairs. And then we have a kitchenette bar downstairs. And I thought whatever I didn't use upstairs for water bottles, I could use downstairs in the bar for extra wine or other alcohol that needs to lay flat. So I only brought 2 of them over here, but quickly realized we have too many water bottles. I should probably do a little bit more decluttering, but for now I'm gonna add a 3rd one to this, and I do need to lower the shelf a little bit. So I'm gonna pull everything out and then lower the shelf.
It's deja vu. Memories come back when I'm with you. It's deja vu. Memories come back when I'm with you.
In this kitchen, there are quite a few of our cabinets that have shelves that you can't move up and down, which is really frustrating to me because I want some that are a little bit deeper. I am considering the idea at some point of getting pull-out drawers added to a couple of the cabinets that are on the stove side, the back wall of the kitchen. But luckily this is one of the ones that's adjustable, so I can move it down so I can add some more water bottles. At this point, I'm sure you can tell I am getting very pregnant. I'm about 31 weeks pregnant at this point. So my husband, Jim, brought me a pillow because I was uncomfortable kneeling on the ground. So that made it a heck of a lot more comfortable, and I could kind of continue getting this water bottle organizer set up. I think I finally got the cabinet to a place that I wanted at, so I'm going to leave that cabinet and then head over and clean up all the trash. And then Jim stopped in to say hi and give me a hug while I was in the middle of filming until I informed him that the camera was running and I was filming a video, and then he promptly left.
Lost and out of focus, I can hear a word you say.
Like I said at the beginning of the video, I did share my pantry organization video, so if you haven't watched that already, you should head over and watch that next. But I did buy 1 extra container. The rest of the containers were everything that I had from my previous apartment, but I wanted 1 more. With a lot of my recent baking, I've found that I'm using whole wheat flour and kept buying whole wheat flour and would just use it out of the bag, but decided to get a new container for whole wheat flour because I'm using it so often. Gave that a quick rinse, and then also just went to Costco, got almond flour, which I didn't have before, and filled up my almond flour container that I had before. So I'm gonna let the whole wheat flour container dry out just next to the sink while I continue to do other stuff, and I'll fill that up a little bit later. We were just at my parents' house in Minnesota last weekend, and while we were there, they gave us their old air fryer. They bought a new toaster oven that is a toaster oven, an air fryer, and everything all in one, which is something I would love to have in the future, but because of that, they aren't using their old air fryer anymore, and we actually don't have one. So since we drove from Nebraska to Minnesota, we could easily bring stuff back with us. So they gave us their old air fryer. I'm really excited to try it. If you have any favorite air fryer recipes or just things you like cooking in the air fryer, leave a comment below. Let me know, because even after filming this video, I still haven't used it yet. We've had it for about a week, but I'm excited to give it a try.
Tell me how I'm gonna live my life without you. Yeah, tell me why we don't make sense. Tell me how I'm gonna get through. I don't wanna take another life without you. Yeah, tell me why we don't make sense. Do I ever let go of the days I wish we had? Stop crying over things I can't take back, not yet. Do I ever forget? Erase your pretty face inside my head. Wishing you the best of life instead. Well, not yet. Baby, no, I don't wanna go. You know how much I hate sleeping alone. I can never make it on my own.
Now I'm onto the drawers that are on the stove side of the kitchen, and I did buy some drawer organizers when my parents were in town and was kind of placing them around and seeing how I liked them. And I think I've decided what I purchased is what I want to keep. So that means it's time to take the labels off, and then I'm going to show you how I make my drawer organizers stay in place so they don't slide around.
Oh, you, I keep wishing we'll end up together, you, oh, you. I keep wishing.
Some of these labels are super easy to get off and some are terribly difficult. So I did grab some of my Goo Gone as well to wipe off the spots that left a little bit of residue behind. If you don't have Goo Gone or you don't want to use Goo Gone, another great solution is using an essential oil that's a citrus essential oil. So either lemon or orange, both work just as well as using some Goo Gone. You can also break out your hair dryer and heat up some of these labels lightly. Of course, you don't want to melt the plastic or anything, but if you do heat them up just slightly, it helps peel off the labels so you don't have to use any Goo Gone or essential oils or anything like that either. Now that the labels are off, I'm going to use this clear museum gel. I've shared it before, but all you do is you grab just a little bit, roll up little balls, put them in each corner of the organizer, and firmly press it into your drawer. That way things stay in place. I like the clear version, especially when I use clear acrylic organizers, so you can't see it at all. They also sell a museum putty, which is not clear, and that works just the same.
Staying up all night, everything is alright. Oh, I wanna be with you. Oh, I wanna be with you. Let me be that someone who can hold your hand.
So you'll see this first drawer is basically my baking drawer and measuring cups, things like that. I also have cookie scoops in there. I have an ice cream scoop, and then the tool that I use if I don't want to use a toothpick to test my cakes and cupcakes to see if they're done. I'm putting back here little colored ramekins and prep bowls. I don't think I like having these back here. First of all, it's very difficult to reach. And second of all, I might be able to declutter some of these. I'm just gonna stick them back there for now and then decide later what to do. The next drawer over is kind of what I call my miscellaneous cooking tools drawer. I had these drawer organizers from our last apartment, so didn't spend any money there, which is great. But I'm going to organize them a similar way to what I did in the apartment. And I'm doing one side with all of my graters and peelers and zesters. And then the other side, I have my can opener, my lemon and lime juicer, wine opener. I have my garlic press, and then my meat thermometer.
Under the streetlights, doing what we want to, doing what we need to do, staying up.
Now, right under the stove, I have all of my utensils that I use to cook. I like having things near where I use them. Now, this drawer, I've had some other people say that this would be a great spot to put my spices. It is a pretty deep drawer and it might be a little bit of a waste of space for all of my spices. I have a ton of them and I don't mind having them in the pantry and just grabbing out what I need when I'm gonna cook for a recipe. So I'd rather use this space for the utensils I use to cook. But let me know, do you store your spices either in a pantry or in a cabinet, or do you use some of your drawer space for your spices? I always find that drawer space is more limited, so that's another reason that I choose not to put them into my drawers. The next drawer down is all of our food storage containers. So I have a glass set, a plastic set, and a set of stasher bags that I use in the fridge, the freezer, to take places with me, really all over. But what's frustrating me about this drawer is that I don't have any drawers that are super deep. And what I like to do with the lids to my food storage containers is store them upright and sort them that way. I just don't have a space that I can do that I've discovered at this point. So I'm just laying them on top of each other. Not the solution that I'm in love with, but it is what it is for now. And I'm going to keep thinking creatively and see if I can come up with another solution. I just hate when things are piled on top of each other. It kind of just leads to a little bit of a mess because you have to dig under something and things topple over. So whenever I can flip things on its side and think about filing rather than piling, that's always better in my book.
Right now I'm standing in a corner. I see you from across the room. It's kinda crowded here, but I know you see me too. Everybody's singing, oh, everybody's singing, oh. I don't know what it is about you.
Bottom drawer is going to be baby central. So we have received some things from free baby boxes from creating registries on different websites. That's a lot of what these, at least baby bottles are. And then some baby gifts as well from friends and family from baby showers with these little bibs and other things. So I'm trying to throw away some of the packaging and things that I don't need, but I'm not ready to organize it yet at this point because there's still more baby items coming in and I don't know what this drawer is going to look like in a couple of weeks or a couple of months or even further down the line.
Just say the word and we can leave this place. I'll take you anywhere you want. As long as we're together, everything we'll do. You got me going, oh, you got me going, oh. Now I'm moving closer to you.
The last drawer I'm using to store our napkins. It's closest to the table, so it's really easy to grab a napkin and set the table that way. It's also next to the silverware. And then I am also putting some of our trivets and other little lids that I have that can protect things from splatter when they're in the microwave. It's, again, right next to the microwave as well. So kind of a miscellaneous drawer, but convenience-wise, I think I have the right items in there. Under the oven, I'm doing all of my odd-shaped baking items. I'm also going to put some placemats in there as well as my silicone baking mats and oven mitts. After that, I decided I had to sit down. My back was already starting to hurt, so I sat down to have a snack, and Jim got to working on the light fixtures in the kitchen. We're really trying to finish up one room at a time, and that includes the organizing, putting things away, but also any home repairs and things like that. So Jim is helping out and doing his part as I'm doing my organizing part. And once I was done with my little snack break, then it was back to the organizing. I started the dishwasher before I started filming and it actually finished up. So I am going to take this opportunity to put my dishes away and kind of show you a little bit of the rest of the kitchen that we didn't organize. So I'm going to open up all these cabinets. You can see how things are looking. I love how clean the cabinets are looking that are kind of this see-through. Having all white dishes, it looks nice and sleek and clean, both when it's closed and open. So very happy with how that looks, as well as the other cabinet where I have all of our glassware. That's more of a clear look. Then above the oven and microwave, I have the rest of my baking sheets and cookie sheets stored vertically. And then these two cabinets you'll see in a second are the ones that I'm considering adding pullouts to.
How can I believe you when everything is secret, secret? Everything is secret, secret. Everything is secret, secret. Everything is secret. How can I believe?
I also finished organizing under my sink. This, I'm very excited with how it looks and how functional it is. Very convenient for us to have a built-in trash can and a built-in spot to put recycling as well. Makes it a lot easier to recycle, and to not have a trash can that's sitting out is awesome. And above it, we even have a built-in spot to put our paper towels. Welcome back to another organizing video where today we're going to be in my pantry doing some cleaning and refreshing of the space. I have, as you can probably see at the bottom of the pantry there, an overflowing backstock bin. So we need to do a lot of restocking of my different containers where I decant and get this place back in shape. So let's get going.
Brand new street and brand new me. Side by friends I need. Don't you tell me that you're in town, I already know. Couple days ago. Hey, now that our names are written in stone, let's be honest, sounds like home.
I am going to tackle this pantry from top to bottom today, pull almost everything out and wipe off the surfaces. In a pantry, things tend to get dirty. There's crumbs that spill places. So even though we moved in September, not that long ago, I want to go through, clean this space in addition to refreshing and refilling and making sure the organizational systems are working for me. Now at the top of the pantry, some of these bins that I took down are baking items. This first one is Backstock of baking food items. I have a second baking one that is everything related to cake decorating. There's an apron in there, other items like that. But this food baking backstock bin, I have a bunch of containers for vanilla extract, and I typically make my own vanilla extract with vanilla beans and vodka. I've shared that before as a fun DIY gift that you can do for friends or family. I have some bottles that are empty right now, and my mom bought me this giant vanilla extract from Costco Business Center. If you've never been to a Costco Business Center, it is a crazy, crazy place. Costco times 10 basically. So everything that a business owner, think a restaurant owner, might need. They also have some things that are normal consumer size, but they really have a lot of bulk items. So she got me this vanilla extract because of how often I bake. And I love my own bottles a little bit more. So I'm just going to pour this vanilla extract into my own bottles. And I don't mind that some of these bottles are half of my homemade vanilla extract. And then I'm just going to top it off with the other vanilla extract. It's all the same, adding a little bit more flavor. And I was almost able to get rid of that bottle, but there's just a tiny bit left. Honestly, with how often I bake in the next week or so, I will probably go through that.
Wish I would know what you're thinking about. I wish I could wipe my own memory out.
These other 4 bins I use to decorate cakes and cupcakes, sometimes cookies. I have cookie cutters, cupcake liners, food coloring, decorations, candles, all of that stuff. And then the other baking bin was what I mentioned. It has a turntable to make cakes. It has that apron and other items like that. The last 2 bins that I put on top of my pantry are my nut milk bin. Yes, I have a whole bin for different nut milks. I love almond milk, coconut milk, oat milk, especially oat milk is my favorite. I used to drink soy milk a lot. Now I really don't, but I just kind of mix it up depending on what flavors I want. I put them into my smoothies, in my overnight oats, when I'm baking, really everything. And then the last bin is my backup spices. So some of these are spices that I use to refill my spice jar containers that I have lower down in my pantry, and others are spices I just don't use very often.
Try to justify my actions, less reactions, heart be raising. Oh, it doesn't work.
I always think a really good fun project to start to organize your kitchen or your pantry, wherever you put your spices, is to create uniform containers for your spices and have uniform jars. It makes such a difference in the look of your space. But one of the big downsides and drawbacks is the fact that it does get sticky sometimes and messy. And that's true of any decanting. Typically, when you run out of a jar or container of whatever food item you purchase, you throw it away and you move on to a new fresh bottle or a new fresh container. But when you reuse bottles and containers, they never get thrown away. So you need to take the time to actually clean them. And it seems tedious and silly to have to clean off all of your spice jars and all of your containers, but I am planning on doing that today because you need to do it every now and then.
Work.
As I'm refilling things, you might have questions about how decanting works and if I choose to pour out the contents of something first, then pour in the newest thing followed by the old spice maybe on top of it. So the oldest stuff is at the top of the spice jar and I can use that up first. Or what I do with expiration dates, do I write them on the bottom? Do I care about that stuff? Any of those questions, I just posted a video all about pantry decanting, hopefully answering all of your frequently asked questions, some of the pros and cons to decanting, questions that you might have about what types of items you should decant and what types of containers you should purchase. So I will make sure to link that in the cards above if you're interested, as well as in the description box, and then you can check that video out if you want to know all about decanting.
Swept up and away from all our fears. How are we supposed to know on our own? Together we can go slow. Why don't you leave it all to me? I know how hard it all can be. I'm here to hold your hand.
All of those containers are nice, neat, and tidy now, so I am going to wipe off the top shelf and start unloading the next shelf. The next shelf down on the right side, I have bigger baking items, meaning flours, whole wheat flour, regular flour, sugar. I have bread flour, coconut flour, almond flour, lots of different flowers, as you can tell. That's all on the right-hand side. So I'm going to get those down and wipe them off like I was talking about. Baking containers, I feel like get the messiest because I am just all in it and getting everything all messy and sticky, and there's batter going everywhere. So those really do need a good wipe down.
Hold you like before. We can fly away from here. We can stay close, my dear.
I do occasionally, when I work fully through an item in a container, I will stick my OXO pop containers, these are the containers that I'm using, right in the dishwasher, and they hold up really well. My labels even stay on there. I try and put them on the top rack of the dishwasher if possible. I don't dishwash the tops of them, those I hand wash, but the actual containers themselves do hold up well in the dishwasher for me. I'm going section by section a little bit here because I don't want to overwhelm my kitchen countertops with all of the different items by pulling everything down all at once. So with all of the flours and sugars back, I am going to also put back some of the things on the top shelf there using my collapsible step stool. Very handy for somebody who's a little bit shorter like I am. And then I will continue moving on to the rest of the second shelf down.
Together we can go slow.
I use a giant Lazy Susan in the corner there for some of my larger items. So I'm going to pull that down, wipe it off. I have things on there like this pretty large size of coconut oil. I have a couple different protein powders and a large honey. I have ghee and brewer's yeast. That is a supplement that I had to make some lactation cookies for breastfeeding, but really those big bulky items fit great on this giant Lazy Susan and works perfectly in a corner where you sometimes struggle to access things.
Be caught inside an oyster, shimmering, glimmering, make waves in the sky. Stick my tongue out.
On the left side of this shelf, again, more baking items, but it's the smaller baking items. I have walnuts up there. I put them separate from my other nuts because walnuts I pretty much only use for baking. So I have those up there, and then I have cocoa powder, baking soda, powdered sugar, brown sugar, chocolate chips, and cornstarch.
Your face is mild, your will is strong. You tell me I belong with the swans, dancing, romancing, cold with the sighs, keep me alive. Shimmering, glimmering, make waves in the sky. Stick my tongue out, draw a line in the sand.
The next shelf down is OXO pop container land, all of my dried pantry goods, as well as in the corner Lazy Susan, I have my oils and vinegars and extracts and everything there. So I'm starting with the pantry dried goods. There are 2 levels of containers here. So I have some in the way back, and then I have a layer in front of it of shorter containers. I'm going to refill some of these. I got more almonds and more cashews to refill those containers. So I am doing the method here where I pour out the stuff that's on the bottom into a bowl, pour the new stuff in the bottom of the container, and then pour the older item on top. So I use the old cashews, for example, up first. I also had to snack on a couple cashews because I love cashews. They're probably one of my favorite nuts, maybe pistachios too, but I do really like cashews. And then I'm filling up my popcorn. Popcorn is a fun snack that I like to have. I just make it on the stove top with a little bit of oil and pop it for as long as it takes until about 30 seconds after the last pop, and it's that simple. Some of these containers, like the hemp parts that I just wiped off, you'll notice that there's a scoop in there. It's really handy for me to have certain containers to have scoops in them. Mostly just the things that I use for smoothies. So I have one in my hemp parts, I have one in chia seeds and flax seeds.
Did you know when how everything would turn out? We learned to run, we learned to fight. Sooner or later, we can become strangers. Someday, somewhere, we can be new again.
While I did have some items on the bottom of my pantry to restock these things, it was helpful to go through and pull everything out to also know what other items that I might need to restock and repurchase and add to my next grocery list. When I bought this huge bag of chia seeds from Costco, I thought it was going to kind of take me a while to go through it. It didn't. I've been making so many different types of overnight oats that I blew through it faster than I could have imagined.
How to make it true? Make her right and new, and then for you, you can pick and choose. All you gotta do is play the whole thing through. I wanted to be saved before we lost our way. We were picture perfect, but below the surface, I wasn't okay. I made it look the way. I'm saying you deserved it. Sometimes it just happens that way. Sooner or later, we can become strangers. Someday.
Onto that Lazy Susan, I'm unloading it a little bit. It's hard to carry it all over at once because there are so many heavy bottles on there. So I just kind of took a few items over to the countertop and then was able to wipe it off, put that back. And I will say this Lazy Susan is still a little bit of a mess for one main reason, and that is I broke a few of the tops to some of these containers or lost them in the move. I honestly can't remember. So I have some containers that are labeled and therefore items that I actually want to use and want to fill them up and want to have them decanted, but I don't have a top for them. And I've tried to buy replacement tops on Amazon, and for some reason I can't find a replacement that fits these bottles. So I had to return them a couple of times. I've tried maybe 2 or 3 times and cannot find a top to fit them. So I either just need to buy a new set or I don't know. I just got to figure it out, but it's been sitting like this for far too long.
You may see her each day. If I only knew how to make it true, make her right and new, and then for you, you can pick and choose. All you gotta do is play the whole thing through. If I only knew.
One thing you should keep in mind as you're decanting oils, especially something like olive oil, you'll notice if you purchase olive oil, it's in a darker bottle or container. And that is because it helps preserve the life of the olive oil and helps eliminate the amount of light that actually hits that oil. So if you do plan to store your olive oil, for example, out on the countertop where it's exposed to a lot of light, I would suggest finding an amber or a dark green bottle to decant into if you do want to decant. If you're going to put it in your dark pantry like I am, it probably doesn't matter as much, especially if you're somebody like me who plows through olive oil and there is no way it's going to go bad by the time I use it up. Over here, I keep all of my cookbooks. I had a loose sheet for my smoothie recipes that I just pulled out, and I'm just kind of tidying it all up. I did a declutter of this before I moved, and I do like and use all of those cookbooks. So I'm leaving all of them and then wiping off my toaster oven and my milk frother that I have there plugged in. And then it's time to move on to all of the spices. Just like I did with the OXO pop containers for my dried goods, I am going to clean off each and every spice jar.
It's the
cansada la vida, porque sin ti no va nada. Bien, echando sal a la herida, el limón al aguardiente, yeah. Despechada mejor, ya que si dame arroz, dame todo lo que toco. El problema es peor, mucho siento por vos, pero se me ve poco, yeah. Dime qué vamos a hacer, si cuando tomo todo...
I'm not going to make you sit through this entire process of me wiping off each and every spice jar because I'm telling you it took a long time and you don't need to watch me do that. But I did set up my iPad and watched a TV show while I did it, so I was multitasking in that sense and made it a little bit more fun for myself.
Solo un traguito, nada más, que sobrio ya no puedo ni verte, yeah, yeah, para no...
Finally, it was time to put all of these spices back, and I've mentioned this before, and I know it's strange, but I like to see my spices in rainbow order, kind of. That's just what I like the look of, and it kind of works for me. I'm used to finding things that way. My husband doesn't really cook like I do, so I'm pretty much the one who's finding the spices, and as long as I know where everything is, that's all that matters. And within the rainbow order, I put the most used spices up front. Whereas if you were to do it by alphabetical order or something, your most used spices might not necessarily be in front because that's maybe not where they fall in the alphabet. So I like that with this method of organizing them, I can put what I use most up front.
Sé cuando tomo todo lo malo se va, y al amanecer ya me doy cuenta que no se olvida nada. Solo un traguito, nada más, que sobrio ya no puedo ni verte, yeah, yeah, para no acordarme de nada.
This area is where I put all of my canned goods and other products that are kind of weird round shapes. I also have chicken stock there, so some boxes. But in my first pantry organization video, I had people ask me where were all of my canned goods and stuff, and I had just moved into the house, so I didn't have a ton. This is where I store them. And then in the back corner, I have all of the different rices that we have, and sometimes I'll have miscellaneous items like raisins or sunflower seeds. And then I have a couple of bins for my Vitamix blender, miscellaneous things, snacks, and then 2 containers for fresh produce, which usually ends up being potatoes, onions, bananas, tomatoes, anything like that that doesn't need to be stored in the refrigerator.
Since I woke up, I can finally see.
I'm cleaning the bottom of the pantry floor with my wood cleaner and pulling out all of the appliances and putting those back on the bottom there. Last but not least, it's time to go through the Backstock bin. I needed to dump it out because there were some crumbs at the bottom and just quickly reorganize it. First, putting in the largest items so I make sure they fit and sit nicely on the bottom of the container, and then I'm going to put all of the smaller items around them. I love having an extra bin or backstock bin for miscellaneous items, but also for all of the extras that don't fit into containers that I decant. So this is a must-have in a pantry for me to keep everything nice and neat looking. And speaking of nice and neat looking, here is the final after of my refreshed and fully cleaned pantry.
Demons tell me that I'm useless and I don't
That was the shot of all of the stuff I'd pulled out of my cabinets to get these rollouts installed. And I actually had them also install some peg holes so they were adjustable. I knew when I was doing this, I wanted to move my food storage containers to the rollouts because I had this organizer that I used to use in my apartment to store all of the lids, and none of the drawers in the middle were deep enough. So I wanted to make one of the rollouts deep enough to hold those lids the way I wanted them to be organized. Another organizer I'm using is this one for reusable silicone storage bags. It comes with a drying rack under it. This is an awesome way to organize if you use reusable silicone food storage bags like I do.
You say you don't wanna get in trouble, that you're doing fine 'cause you got me. I don't wanna break your...
I did have a full dishwasher as well, so I'm going to kind of unload the dishwasher as I put things away. I figured it made more sense to unload and put them properly away into the rollouts as opposed to just unloading things and putting it on my kitchen table or in the drawers that they're not going to end up in anyway. So I am going to start playing around with the food storage containers here as well as the lid organizer and see how I want it to get organized. You'll see in this video, it's not like I just organize something once and it fits perfectly and then I close the drawer and we're done. There's a lot of organizing and reorganizing to figure everything out perfectly. So a lot of times I just kind of place things in a drawer or a cabinet the way that I think it's gonna go. It might not be 100% perfect, but I'm just starting to get the sense of it, and I'm gonna go back and refine these spaces and then make sure I have them right. Then it can also be refined even more once I start using it. It's important to remember that, and I want to show you the process of organizing because I think a lot of times we think that you just buy an organizing tool or a bin and then it's just really intuitive how everything's going to fit together and how it's going to be functional for you, and that's typically not the case. Stuff like this does take a lot of arranging and rearranging, so hopefully it's helpful for you to see my process as I'm doing this rather than just showing you the final product.
There's so many ways to be happy. You can do whatever you like. You don't have to be ready. You just gotta trust the right. Don't have to be scary. You just gotta follow the light. You're able to be happy. You can do whatever you like.
The next drawer down, I was thinking of doing kind of miscellaneous stuff. Again, I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to put here. I did have that freed up drawer in the middle that I was going to play around with a bit as well, so I had that. And then I knew the left side cabinet on the other side of the stovetop, that's where I want to put all of my pots and pans. So I got to use that bottom pullout in the middle drawer to fit everything else. That falls into the miscellaneous category, I guess. Right now, I've put my spiralizer that I use for zucchini noodles and things like that, as well as my Yo Nana's machine. This makes nice cream. Basically just bake ice cream out of bananas. There's a whole recipe book with it that makes a bunch of different healthy desserts and treats that are really delicious. And I also put my mandolin in there for now.
You just gotta trust the right. Don't have to be scary. You just gotta follow the light. You're able to be happy. You can do whatever you like.
Taking a quick break on figuring out how to organize that bottom drawer to clean out the middle drawer where I had all of my food storage containers, wiping it down with a multi-surface cleaner and a microfiber cloth, and then I first decided that I wanted to try putting my Pyrex baking dishes in there. They are really heavy. They're obviously glass, but I had a thought to put them in there. I was also maybe thinking mixing bowls would be really great to put in the drawer because I use them so often. But you'll see as I'm arranging and rearranging things, the Pyrex pans don't fit in there the way that I would want them to. So I did end up moving them to the bottom drawer there.
Girl. Your beauty make them bow down. I need that body right now. Yeah. The love will never die down. Together we can fly now. So, baby, don't you ever be...
I really like these Pyrex dishes. I've shared them before because they come with matching lids. so I can bake something and then directly stick it into the refrigerator with leftovers if I just pop one of those lids on. So that's really nice. But that bottom drawer was starting to get pretty full and I hadn't made space for those lids. And they were actually pretty tall and didn't fit very well on their sides. So you'll see I'm starting to play around with, well, maybe I do want to put the Pyrex dishes into the middle drawer. Maybe it would fit better there. Maybe I should put the lids under the baking dishes. That is kind of a pain too, because every time you want to get one, you have to lift everything up. And the amount of times that I can reduce lifting one thing up to get to something else, I think the better. That is the goal in my kitchen here. I'm okay with the small Pyrex dishes stacked on top of the large ones, but the lids underneath is kind of a burden. So if I can avoid that, I'm going to try.
Make 'em bow down. I need that body right now. Yeah. The love we never died down. Together we
So basically, I spent a lot of time organizing and reorganizing the space to what I thought was the way that I wanted it. You'll see I might make a little bit of a change later, and then using the middle drawer for mixing bowls and strainers, and that's it. And that drawer looks so clean to me. It makes me so happy that it's just 2 sets of mixing bowls and the lids and then the strainers, and that's it. I can easily access everything that I want to without moving a bunch of other things out of the way. Okay, now comes the tricky part, pots and pans, and I have so many. I know I have too many, but a lot of them are really nice and high quality. I cook all the time. And I don't really want to get rid of them if they're still in great shape. Some types of pots and pans, especially I think nonstick, they do tend to need to be replaced every now and then. So I'm going to hold on to everything. I know I could do a little bit of decluttering, but I'm going to hold on to all of them and then potentially declutter as they get a little too much wear and tear. And then I'll have more pots and pans and won't need to buy a new set. Because I have so much, I decided that it might be a good idea to try and put some of them up above the refrigerator and use that space. I hadn't really been using that space very efficiently in my mind. So ones that are very big and bulky, and then maybe ones that I potentially use less often, I can put up there. I can reach that shelf that's right above the fridge and freezer pretty easily. The one above that, I do need a step stool, but the one that's right above, I can access quite easily. So I can still use it for pots or pans that I do use on a somewhat regular basis. I was having the same thoughts and issues with pots and pans. I hate stacking them. That's not good for your pots and pans, and it will reduce the longevity of them. I did share a full review video of the Caraway pots and pans, and I really like them. I love how they come with their organizers and make it really simple. But in this space, the drawers weren't deep enough, and I could have dropped one of them down, but then it would make the next one so shallow that it didn't really work out for me. And I tried maybe thinking about stacking them on top of each other, which to me kind of defeats the purpose of the Caraway pots and pans because of how nice and easy it is to get them organized. So stay tuned for a little bit later in this video where I'm going to show you how I solve for that. But for now, you can see me just working through this and trying to problem solve how to get all of these pots and pans in here. Okay, that's good enough for now. I'm gonna step away, let my mind think about it, and then I saw there were a few other miscellaneous items on the kitchen countertop that I'd pulled out that I need to account for. That rolling pin I'm going to put in the bottom drawer. Up top of that shelf divider, I had some food storage containers, some aluminum foil ones that I use for taking food on the go or freezer meals. So I put my cupcake holder up there too because it kind of made sense to me, like on the go stuff or stuff that I take out of the house. I don't know. I didn't know where else to put it. It's long, it's bulky, so up high was a good spot in my mind. Now, the spiralizer and this little steamer that I have, I thought those would actually be good to put into the unit in a bin that's over by our fireplace in our living room because they're used less often. The other thing I knew I wanted to move over here was our wine glasses. This thing has a spot to put wine glasses, so I want to use it. Jim and I aren't big drinkers, so we use wine glasses truly less than once a month. Maybe when we have people over, and we also have some stemless ones that I'm going to keep in the kitchen. So if it's just the two of us, we can use those, or we can walk to our living room. It's an open concept. We can just walk right over there and easily grab a wine glass. I also had 2 baking dishes I was able to stack together and put in that shorter side of the unit. and then pulled out the bin there because I don't think there's anything else miscellaneous I'm going to put in there, but we will see. Now you'll see I had recruited Jim's help. Actually, I didn't have to recruit Jim's help. Jim was into helping me. He wants this kitchen to be functional for both of us as well. So the two of us are kind of tag teaming the rest of this video and finishing out the kitchen organizing project. He has a ton of great ideas. He's really practical when it comes to his organizing, and I think we balance each other out very well. A lot of times I get pulled into the aesthetics of organizing and don't necessarily think about being practical. He's all about functionality and helping me talk through, like, okay, am I going to be able to get to what I want to get to? If I put something up high, is it too heavy for me to get down? Is it too high for me to get it down? Which pots and pans do I use the most often? So as I'm moving stuff, he's talking to me and helping coach me on how this looks and how it's going to work functionally as I cook. I preach this often as well, even though I'm the one who does the majority of the cooking in the house. If you share your space with somebody else, I think it's really important to get them involved and to work as a team, whether it's you and your spouse, or if it's a space that your kids maybe have their toys or their clothing or something. Get them involved, have them invested in the process. It's also more likely that whoever shares your space with you, that they're more likely to put things away, keep things organized, because they know the pain and the effort that you've gone through to get it organized. So they're going to want to maintain it because they know the time you've invested in making it the way that it is. So at Jim's other suggestion, he thought it would be a good idea to move the nice cream maker into that miscellaneous bin in the unit over by the fireplace in our living room. I thought that was a great idea. We don't use it a ton right now, maybe more so once Owen gets a little bit older. We might make more at-home ice cream, nice cream with it. We still use it, so I don't want to get rid of it, but it doesn't need to be in that bottom drawer. And again, this is so easy to access. It just makes more space in the bottom drawer. I can lay the mandolin flat, and I love the way that bottom drawer looks now. Everything's so easily accessible. Jim was still working on those units over there, and I thought it would be a good idea to put the caraway pots and pans up here because we can raise and lower those shelves really, really easily. So Jim's going to help me out with that to raise them up just a little bit so I can fit all of the pans there, because there's one that's a little bit too tall. So he helped me raise that, and then I can use those organizers and I can easily grab them even without that little stool. Jim got to working on raising those shelves. We did decide to raise them on both sides just so it looks kind of symmetrical. I love having peg holes in my kitchen so I can raise and lower stuff, but I will say, first of all, it's tall up there, and second of all, it goes really far back. So I needed Jim's help and those long arms to get way back there to move those shelves. I could not do that on my own. If you are interested in this cookware set, I'm pretty sure that I still have a discount code that works. So I will try and put that in the description box below so you can get a discount. They have lots of different colors too. I like the gray one because I'm all into neutrals, but they have some really fun colors as well if that's more your thing. They come with lid organizers that you can hang on your cabinet doors. I thought it'd be easier just to put it in the side there so I could grab it, as opposed to those cabinet doors that are way high up there.
I heard you said you feel lonely. Nothing is right with that. Picking up pieces of something that doesn't matter.
And then I have a few more serving dishes up there. I just handed Jim 2 pots and pans that nest together pretty well, that are very large. So when I'm serving a huge dish, then I'll need those, but I don't use them regularly. Then put some of my larger Le Creuset in the bottom of the unit over there, and one small one that I will use more often that wasn't accessible before, now into the rollouts. And now I just want to show you some final after shots of how everything turned out. I'm really happy with it. I will say huge credit to Jim for helping me. I think he helped me think through this process a lot and made it so everything's really accessible and, like I said, functional. If you liked today's video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I have lots of more organizing videos to come, spaces I haven't touched in this house yet, some spaces I need to keep honing in on my organizing and doing a little bit of rearranging. But until next time, I will see you guys later.
I bet you think that I should calm down.
Whenever I do a fridge or freezer refresh, clean out, organization, whatever it might be, I like to work in stages. Nobody wants to have their fridge or freezer door open for longer than they need to have it open. So I'm going to start first with the door and just take out all of the products, followed by all of the inserts, and wash those and sort through everything and check expiration dates. I pulled out all of the containers that were easy to remove, and I'm going to wash them in my sink. I'm going to plug one side and use that as kind of the scrubbing zone, and then the other side of the sink I am going to use to rinse off those inserts.
Before I'm too invested, I should probably ask you all my questions, get to know you better. Like, can you be trusted? Will you take me for granted? Will you let me down? I know I'm feeling something for you.
Typically when I'm cleaning my fridge, I just do a little bit of a wipe out, and then I will do a deeper clean. Sometimes on a monthly basis, I'll try and pull things out and really, really give it a good scrub down. But at least quarterly, I like to take all of the parts out of the fridge and do this. So it's a nice opportunity when I'm organizing it to take care of that deep clean at the exact same time. I would love to hear from you guys. How often do you do a deep clean of your refrigerator like this? How often do you give it just a quick wipe down? It's a really easy place to forget about giving a deep clean, but it's one of the places that really, really needs it, and probably needs it more often than most of us do clean it, just because there's food, there are things dripping in there, and it's inevitable that there are going to be some spills. You'll see this larger container that goes on the door actually has a divider that comes with it. Super nice to have a fridge that has some organizational parts built into it, but I don't love this fridge and freezer combo. My apartment refrigerator and freezer were actually larger than this fridge and freezer in our new house. So a lot of my organizers that I had in my old fridge and freezer did not work, so I had to get some new ones that are a little bit smaller because this fridge is not as deep, especially. So that was a bummer to have to get a few new things, but I'm excited about what I found, and I was able to reuse a couple of things that I had from before. This unit is a side-by-side fridge and freezer, and I'm starting to think that I don't like the side-by-side and prefer the fridge on the top and a pull-out freezer on the bottom. That's what we have in the basement. And so if you are somebody that has a side-by-side and you want the inspiration and motivation and all of that stuff to go through your side-by-side fridge and freezer, this video is for you. If you do have a pull-out freezer on the bottom and you're wondering how I'm going to organize that or how I would organize that, I'm going to be doing another video where I'm organizing our basement fridge and freezer, which is the opposite setup. So make sure you're subscribed to my channel and you stay tuned for that so you can see both setups.
Every time I'm going out, the same things keep happening. New boy, same tricks. Coming close to me now, trying to be smooth. So here we go again. Here we go again. You're trying to find my dreams.
Now you'll see I'm going through expiration dates. Condiments and other items that I keep in my door typically have really long expiration dates and shelf lives, but if you don't go through them often, they can sneak up on you and you might think that you have a year or 6 months or something, and before you know it, that time passes up and you have some expired food in your refrigerator. So just double checking all of the expiration dates, and most of it looks good, but there are a couple of items that I'm going to get rid of. Even if you don't get rid rid of everything. It is a reminder to yourself what you have. I say this often with decluttering and going through everything, is that it can just be a reminder of what you have, and especially when it comes to food or things that expire, you want to know what you have on hand. You want to know when it expires to encourage yourself to use it up before it goes bad.
Trying to impress me, but I don't care about your Rolex or your credit card. Rolex or your credit card.
Now I'm just using a general multi-surface cleaner here in my glass and silicone spray bottles with my microfiber clean cloths. And I'm saying my because I do sell both the microfiber cleaning cloths and the glass and silicone spray bottles. If you're somebody that likes buying in bulk or just decanting your cleaning products or creating your own DIY cleaners, they are great. So make sure to check the description box below for a link to both of those products.
I don't know what you think, but I'm not one of those chicks. Take it somewhere else, would ya? Would ya?
In terms of how I'm organizing the products on the door, I'm just trying to put like items together. So at the top there, I'm putting all different types of condiments. I have things like ketchups and mustards and hot sauces and sriracha, all of that. And the next shelf down, I am organizing like items together again. But I'm also being conscious of the depth of the different shelves for the door. So the top two are the deeper shelves, and then they get narrow as they go to the bottom. So I have some things that are a little bit wider, like my salsa, like this giant thing of garlic, and our maple syrup. So I need to make sure that those fit on one of the wider shelves. I'm using the divider here, so I have salsa on the right and then everything else on the left, and that left-hand side is a little bit of a miscellaneous category, but that is okay. The next one I'm organizing, I have pickles, jalapenos, pepperoncinis, and capers, and the following one actually ends up being a lot of different Asian flavors like rice vinegar, oyster sauce, fish sauce, chili paste, and other things like that. The door is done, so it's on to the refrigerator. But before I pull everything out and start organizing it and cleaning it, I recently did a Costco run, and I am such a fan of buying all of our meat from Costco. I like to freeze it. I love buying in bulk. I don't go to Costco very often, so when I do, we stock up and I fill up my freezer. That's also why I love having a second fridge and freezer, so I can put more of our frozen meat downstairs. And if you are somebody that likes to freeze meat and things like that, I will share how I organize it in my next video. I put this flank steak into freezer safe Ziplocs into 2 separate portions because it comes into 2 separate pieces anyway, and I just weigh it and put the weight of how much meat is in each bag right there on the Ziploc. And that way when I go to prepare a meal, I can know the actual weight of the meat and not the meat frozen and any other ice that may have formed, and kind of changes the weight of the meat there. And it helps when I'm making a recipe that calls for, let's say, 1 pound of flank steak or whatever it might be. So I brought that downstairs, and now it is truly time to go through the refrigerator, and I'm starting by pulling it all out like I did with the door.
You better be there when I shake. Watch me rocking if I can't stop. If I should fall, just go ahead. Go and catch me, baby.
I did kind of pause when I hit the cheese drawer because the bottom part of the refrigerator is all drawers. So I decided to just do half at a time, do the top portion and close the door so I could clean off the shelves and then put stuff back, and then I could go to the drawers and do the same thing.
Turn it up on a higher level. Turn it up, we got this. Turn it up on a higher level. Turn it up, we got this. Turn it up on a higher level. Turn it up, we got this. You better join in. You better grab that tambourine. Bring the bass, we might be wicked. We may be forced to cause a scene. Make some trouble, baby. Ooh, I live it. That's my tune.
So while I'm cleaning off these shelves here, I do want to share that this video is sponsored by Share-a-Cart. I'm really excited because Share-a-Cart is something that helps me and it helps you. It is a free Chrome extension and it allows you to share your online shopping list from a bunch of different retailers with one link. So what I am going to do is I am going to put together all of the organizers that I'm sharing today in the fridge and freezer in a Share-a-Cart link. That way you can click on it. You don't have to go to a bunch of different places, and you can see exactly the products that I have used in my fridge and freezer today and shop with that one easy link. Like I said, makes my life easier, makes your life easier, but this isn't really the only application that you can use Share-a-Cart. I've mentioned Share-a-Cart before and worked with them in the past when I've done a sophisticated Saturday video and shared my grocery shopping list with you guys that way. It's just a really great way to share different lists and shopping carts with others, maybe a wish list if you do want to reorganize your fridge and freezer and you're loving the products that I end up using today. Maybe you could shoot this link over to a spouse or somebody else and hope that they might buy you some of these items to organize your fridge and freezer. So don't forget to check the link in the description box below for my Share-a-Cart link, and you can shop all of the products and you can even create your own shopping lists to share with others.
It's a sure thing, we know what is missing. Close our eyes, but we know it's ending. Violation of what can be broken, but it's done now and we can't step back. No more is cold and dark, burning out like stars shine in the sky. No more.
Now I can put those shelves back into the refrigerator. I really like this one shelf because it has part of it that can extend out or retract back into the back part of the refrigerator if you have something on the shelf below it that's a little bit taller. So it kind of gives you an option, but you do need to be careful with it because it does tend to be a little bit wobbly if you're not careful and you put something on that front portion of the shelf that can retract back. I did make that mistake when we just moved in and the refrigerator was very new to me and I didn't know that the shelf did that.
This is just what has happened, but I still can't deny me asking.
The first organizer I'm cleaning off is the one that I store all of my different nut milks. I have oat milk, almond milk, coconut milk, and then I always have one oat milk that I use that is better at frothing for things like lattes and stuff like that. So I have a lot of alternate milk options and I like to keep them all stored together in this really convenient rollout caddy so I can just grab the front, roll it out, and grab exactly whatever I need.
We start explosively, you woke my heart. No one could foresee the way you were disarming me. Oh, ended like we start.
I also have another smaller rollout caddy. These are great. These fit in my old refrigerator in my apartment as well as in this refrigerator. So really whatever size fridge you have, hopefully these will work for you. And I love the fact that the back part has wheels. And like I said, you can just roll it right out. This one I used to have for dairy products like string cheese and stuff in our old apartment, and I had a label on it, so I just peeled that off. And now I put some overnight oats in there. I don't think I'm going to label it just because I want it to rotate with what I'm using. I don't always have overnight oats. I don't always have string cheese and things like that. So it just rotates, and I'm going to leave it labeled because you'll see the overnight oats didn't even fit in there very well. So I'm going to probably put something else in there instead.
Explosively, you woke my heart. No one could foresee the way you were disarming me.
The other containers that I'm using are to keep produce fresh. They come in a variety of sizes. This smaller size, I'm putting cherries into it, and you'll see that it has both vents and an option to add water. And it has a chart for all of the different things that you might put into the container, whether you should open the vents or not, or whether you should add water at the bottom to prolong the shelf life of whatever food you're putting in there. So these are great. Another thing I love to use in a refrigerator, which might surprise you, is a Lazy Susan. It's a really easy way to access things that might be stuck in the back of your fridge. You just rotate that Lazy Susan and you can grab whatever you need. When organizing my fridge shelves, I like to have one shelf that's more for leftovers and another shelf that's more for ingredients that I need to prep. So I'm trying to leave some extra space knowing that I will have leftovers all the time. I'm constantly cooking different foods and we always have leftovers. Love making dinner and having the leftovers for lunch the next day. So account for things like that if you are organizing your fridge. Just be mindful. Do you have the maximum amount of groceries that you usually have in your refrigerator? Or when you're organizing it, do you maybe have less than you usually have and you need to save space for items that you don't currently have but usually have? Now we're onto the drawers. I have tons and tons of cheese. A variety of different reasons why I have so many cheese. First of all, I love cheese, but second of all, with our baby, I tried to go dairy-free for a while, so a lot of this cheese wasn't being used for a while. Really needed to check expiration dates, and I found a few things that were expired. And I also bought some dairy-free alternatives when I wasn't eating dairy. I'm now back to eating dairy. It didn't work to help our little baby that much with his spitting up. So back to dairy. I will still probably use up those cheese alternatives, but there were some expired cheeses I needed to toss.
I miss you so bad, won't you come back to me? I've got you in my head, you're all that I see. I've lost all my chances, I know that I am too late. I'm thinking of you.
With the 3 drawers, the way that I'm going to organize it is the top drawer that's fixed in there, that's for all of our dairy and cheese. The next drawer down, I am going to put our most used fresh produce that we always have, and this is what I did in my last apartment. And then the bottom is going to be any other fresh produce.
Should do. I wish you would be right here with me.
I never use any organizers in the cheese drawer. It is a waste of time to me. The drawer itself is so narrow and thin that it doesn't really need one. And in the refrigerator, you need to be really careful not to over-organize.
Wondering if you're thinking about me too. Now it's too late. Now it's too late. I'm out of time. Thinking of you.
This drawer wasn't too dirty, so I just sprayed it with my multi-surface cleaner and gave it a wipe out with my microfiber cleaning cloth. And then I bought new organizers that fit this fridge drawer a whole lot better than my old ones. And this is what I'm talking about our most used produce. I am constantly using lemons and limes when I'm cooking or putting lemon in my drink, but mostly for cooking. I use them all the time. So I have one container for lemons and limes. We always have tons of apples, so one part is for apples. And then the last one, we always have avocados, so I put avocados in there. And sometimes I will stick in things like oranges as well. But in general, it's lemons and limes, apples, and then avocados.
I might be shaky, I might feel weak. My words may fail me when I try to speak. You know the feeling.
In that bottom drawer, you'll see that's what I was talking about with other produce. I have some lettuce, cabbage mix, Brussels sprouts, green onions, whatever I have for the recipes that week. I also had some cilantro I'm going to put in one of the reusable containers, and I want to show you an example of the larger container and how big it is and what it can hold. Here is the after. You'll see I did leave extra space, like I mentioned, for leftovers and other food because while my fridge wasn't empty right now, it definitely was not as stocked as it can be or is after I do a grocery run. So I was really conscious of that. It's time for the freezer. I'm going to do the same thing, pull items out in sections. And the first section I'm going to do is the top 2 shelves. It's a lot of my smoothie items and then things that I have frozen into my super cubes and stasher bags, which I will explain as we're going through them.
Are as delicate people. Everybody needs love and affection. Yes.
So for my smoothies, I like to have frozen bananas. I just break them in half and stick them into a silicone reusable bag. These are my stasher bags, and I can easily pop in half of a frozen banana into a smoothie, or I also like to make Nice Cream. If you haven't heard of Nice Cream, it is basically a fake ice cream made out of bananas, so it's healthy for you or a lot healthier than regular ice cream. And you can do that in a high-speed blender or with a specific machine that I will also link using the share a cart link so you can shop that as well. You'll see I also have some frozen cubes of Greek yogurt. Some are strawberry, some are plain. And the way that I froze those cubes was using my super cubes. They come in a bunch of different shapes and sizes. Again, all of this, the stasher bags, the super cubes, the organizers from the fridge, all will be linked using that share cart link below. On that top shelf, you'll see I was trying to figure out if I could fit everything that relates to my smoothies up there, but I decided I had more than I thought I did. I forgot I had that extra bag of frozen fruit and a little bag of frozen avocados. So I'm doing all of that as well as my pre-made smoothies on the top. And then below that, I have my stasher bags neatly lined up file folded instead of stacked on top of each other. Always, always organize by storing things vertically if you possibly can. It makes it really easy to pull things out, kind of like a bookshelf. Just slide out exactly what you need instead of upsetting the apple cart and pulling one thing out and everything topples over that was stacked on top of it. I'm trying to create categories and purpose for the rest of the freezer. So that drawer there, I am doing all of my seafood, which is usually just salmon and shrimp. You'll also see I like to take things out of my super cubes once they've frozen so I can reuse them for other things. I froze small little cubes of pesto for recipes. I like to put it on pizza. It's a lot easier to freeze it this way as opposed to freezing the whole jar, because the jar that I get is from Costco and I never want to defrost an entire jar. That's just way too much pesto. So I'm putting them into a stasher bag and on that second shelf with the other stasher bags.
In your eyes, I saw diamonds and skies, and I did all for you, 'cause you wanted me to. In your eyes, I saw diamonds and skies, and I did all.
I'm also breastfeeding, so it's important for me to have some breast milk in the freezer there. I just got that organizer as well, so I will make sure to link that too. And I have a few things that are frozen vegetables, frozen meatballs, put those up there. And then the bottom two drawers here in the main section of the freezer. Chicken is our most used protein. It needs a whole dedicated drawer. And then the bottom one, I have some ground beef, ground bison, and ground turkey, which didn't quite fit. So I ended up putting the ground turkey with the chicken. The door here was a bit of a miscellaneous mess. It's a lot of baked goods that I have previously frozen. I had frozen pancakes and some frozen sunshine bread. I put those in the door for quick, easy access for a breakfast or a snack. And then a couple of other random frozen items, followed by on the bottom, I have all of our ice packs. And here's the after of the freezer. Honestly, this was not that difficult to do. I'm hoping that after seeing this, you got some ideas for different organizational concepts that you can implement in your fridge and freezer. The last thing I want to do before I finish this video and before I call this job complete is to clean off the outside. We did a really good deep clean of the inside of fridge and freezer, so I'm going to use some stainless steel spray and wipe it off and call this good.
I'ma buy plane ticket, run away by myself for a minute. I don't have any limits. Ooh, I'm looking for a place where I can feel alive, where I can let you go and just be for a while. I got you on my mind all the time. Now I'm about, I hope I meet somebody who's better than you, that likes me for the things that I say and I do. Somebody who can help me make it through.
I don't have a ton of stuff in this refrigerator except for this giant jar of pickles. My dad got that for me when he came to visit when we first moved in. I have no idea why. I guess I was pregnant. Maybe that's why. I like pickles. I don't love pickles, but we're slowly moving our way through that jar. But I do keep it in the basement as opposed to upstairs just because of its size. Once everything's out, I am wiping down the shelves and the walls with some multi-surface cleaner and a microfiber cloth. You'll see if you watched my upstairs refrigerator and freezer organization, I took all of the drawers out. all of the components that I could and wash them in the sink with soapy water. Here, I'm not doing that because we just moved in September and we really haven't used this fridge as much except for backup items. So there's not a lot to really clean. Very unlikely that anything has spilled in here or there are any crumbs. I will say though, I like this fridge and freezer a lot better than our upstairs fridge and freezer just because of all of the features that it has. I showed that little sliding part for organizing on the door. All of the mats come out. It is just a really nice fridge and freezer, and I think I like the double doors here and the pull-out freezer on the bottom. The things that I keep in our basement refrigerator are a lot of extras. So I like to have butter. Butter doesn't go bad very quickly, so I like to have it just in case I need it, so I can always whip up a batch of cookies if somebody's coming over, or any little baked good, because I like to have that when I have guests, or maybe I need to stop by somebody's house and drop something off. So that just makes it easier. And I also have some of my backup almond milks and oat milks and other nut milks. The other thing I wanted to start putting in here is having some sparkling waters. I do personally really like sparkling waters. I don't like to drink them myself at home that often because it's just really expensive to drink sparkling waters. It's kind of wasteful to have a bunch of individual waters, but when you have guests over, it is nice to be able to offer them an option, especially if they want a non-alcoholic beverage, and have a bunch of different drinks for them to pick from. So that was part of my idea here. The organizing that I'm doing today really isn't your typical fridge organization. If you have only one refrigerator, you might not have room to do something like this. But if you have a basement where you have an extra refrigerator, maybe you just have a beverage refrigerator, or if you have a garage refrigerator that you use, this could be a fun option. I like having organizers in my refrigerator, and if you saw my organizing video from upstairs, then you know that I like having them. But I also don't like to overdo it if you don't need to. You can easily get some can organizers. There are lots out there that help keep your cans really nice, neat, and organized, but I just don't need that, and I don't want to spend the money, buy the extra things. I know sometimes people comment about organizers and how wasteful they are and harmful for the environment with all of the plastic. So if you don't need an organizer, don't feel like you have to purchase one. You'll see how pretty this looks when I'm done without buying any sort of organizer for these cans. I simply put them in rainbow order, and it did take a little bit of arranging and rearranging to get there. The nice thing is these shelves on the refrigerator are completely adjustable, so it made my job a lot easier that I can make them really close together to give myself still that optimal amount of space below the cans. I've used that space before when I've baked a cake and needed to store it before people came over, and had larger items that I just couldn't fit in my refrigerator upstairs. So I want to keep that space free and open for entertaining and other times that I might have overflow food. Jim had just a couple of cans of beer there. He likes to have beer for when his friends come over. We probably need to restock on that, and I'll do something similar on the other side of the refrigerator, but we only had a few cans for now. There were still some leftovers that I didn't feel like I needed to stuff into the fridge, so I will put those into a cabinet in the back there and then be able to restock them as people continue to drink our sparkling waters. I know that was fast, but that was it for the quick refrigerator organization, and I'll show you what it looks like now. This is the after. Very simple, lots of leftover space. I may end up even moving those oat milks to the door. I know the door isn't the coldest place, but that's probably cold enough, especially because we're not opening and closing the refrigerator, to keep that optimal space like I mentioned on the lower down parts. And how nice is this feature that opens and closes? We actually have the same thing in our refrigerator upstairs. Onto the freezer. This is actually pretty organized already. I did organize it when I made a bunch of freezer meals when I was pregnant, getting ready for postpartum. Although I have eaten some of those and I've added extra things, so I need to quickly go through it and do a little bit of reorganizing, and I'll show you how I do it. What I store in the freezer down here are extra frozen meats. I keep most of them upstairs so I can use them to cook, but we buy at Costco, and so there's always going to be backstock and extras upon extras. So the overflow I keep down here. I use 2 organizers down here, and the first one I use for meat. I love that it has adjustable dividers so I can get the perfect fit for everything. So on one side of this divided top drawer, I put that meat in the divider that I have, and then the bacon I stick at the back, or any extra meat goes back there too. The other thing that I keep in our basement refrigerator are some of our freezer meals. These smaller containers are perfect for a meal for 2. It's all Jim and I need, and this other freezer organizer keeps them upright. It makes them nice and neat and looks like they're file organized. I love it. So I put that in the other side, and I face the words out so I can see exactly what I want to grab for dinner and sort through quickly and know how many freezer meals I have and what I have in the freezer. The bottom ends up being miscellaneous stuff, so I just threw some frozen cranberries in there, extra frozen fruit. I buy stuff when it's on sale, especially when it comes to the freezer, so stock up on what I can, especially because I have the space. And here is what the final after of the freezer looks like. Very nice and neat. 2 organizers, that's it. I will say these organizers work great whether you have a pull-out drawer freezer or a side-by-side fridge and freezer. Anytime that you can sort your items side by side as opposed to stacking them on top of each other, it's going to make it a lot easier. Whenever I get questions about different types of freezers, deep freezers, drawer freezers, door freezers, how do you organize? Think side by side, and these 2 organizers make that easy and simple and take care of it for you. As you can see, the last thing I'm doing is cleaning off the fridge and freezer doors and the drawer and the little edges and handles and everything that I can with my stainless steel cleaner, and then I can call it good for the day. It was so quick and easy. Don't worry if you're craving more. I have more fridge and freezer organizing videos that I will link below if you want to keep watching and keep getting inspiration to get your fridge and freezer organized.